Chapter 1014. Returning to Sea Realm after successfully vanquishing Elder Gravesinger and dealing with Forcrux, Michael stumbled upon a remarkable discovery. He found a skull-shaped medallion among the Elder's belongings, and to his surprise, he learned that it was forged in the realm of gods. With Elidar's assistance and some careful rune adjustments, Michael managed to harness the medallion's power to create a portal back to Aitnes. Rubbing the smooth surface of the skull medallion, Michael witnessed a mysterious purple vortex materialize before him. Taking a deep breath to steady his nerves, he mustered the courage to step into the swirling abyss, vanishing from Elder Gravesinger's pocket dimension in an instant. Meanwhile, in the Wood Elves' village, the curious and enthusiastic children had gathered around Elidar. Eager for tales of adventure and heroism, they huddled closely, their eyes wide with anticipation. Felv and Taskin, on the other hand, stood slightly apart, leaning against a sturdy tree trunk, listening attentively to Elidar's captivating narrative about their god, the Dark Lord. Elidar spun a vivid yarn, recounting the courageous exploits of Michael as he confronted a fearsome vampire death squad, battling to assert his dominance and earn their loyalty. The children gasped in awe, their young minds captivated by the tale unfolding before them. Suddenly, a sharp gust of wind swept through the village, causing everyone to startle and turn their attention towards the disturbance. Before their astonished gazes, a magnificent purple vortex materialized near Michael's throne. With an air of confidence, their god emerged from the swirling portal, returning to them from realms unknown. "My lord," Felv, Taskin, and Elidar swiftly bowed before Michael, their faces filled with reverence. After being regaled by Elidar's tales of Michael's heroism, the young Wood Elves regarded him with admiration and wonder, their eyes shining with excitement. Each child longed to emulate their god, aspiring to be just as brave and formidable. "We must speak," Michael declared, his tone laden with importance. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Felv and Taskin exchanged a knowing glance. Sensing the urgency in Michael's voice, Felv turned her attention towards the children, her expression mirroring concern. "All right, children, it's time to explore the wonders of the forest," Felv gently instructed, suppressing a smile at their playful sighs of mild protest. With a collective nod, the children dispersed, their laughter and chatter fading into the distance. Left alone with his loyal followers, Michael took his rightful place upon his grand throne, radiating an air of command. "My lord, what transpired in the Sky Hall?" Elidar's voice quivered with both curiosity and trepidation. He could scarcely fathom the audacity of the Dark Lord infiltrating the heart of their enemy's stronghold and returning unscathed. The mere thought sent shivers down Elidar's spine. A sly grin crept across Michael's face as he nonchalantly crossed one leg over the other, reclining upon his imposing throne. "Exceedingly well, my friend," he began, his voice tinged with a mix of satisfaction and mischief. "We now possess the pocket dimension housing the demon coffins. With enough time and resources, we can resurrect this ancient race." Taskin and Felv couldn't help but shudder at the mention of resurrecting such formidable forces. They had been fortunate to live in the world of Aitnes, where their greatest perils had been the natural predators of the forest, until recently encountering the relentless Sky Hall soldiers. Yet, compared to their relatively peaceful existence, Michael's challenges seemed insurmountable. His list of adversaries grew with each passing day, and a restful night's sleep had become a luxury of the past. Eager to witness the downfall of the Sky Hall, Elidar's emotions were torn between terror and elation. Having endured 3 millennia of imprisonment at the hands of the Sky Hall, his hatred for the institution knew no bounds. He would gladly sacrifice anything to witness the Sky Hall razed to the ground. "But to breathe life into these dormant bodies, I must journey into the Sea Realm," Michael revealed, his gaze fixed on a distant horizon. Retrieving a peculiar artifact from his possession, he casually tossed the skull-shaped medallion towards Elidar, who caught it with reverent hands. The medallion glimmered brilliantly against the Wood Elf's palm, its intricate and powerful runes leaving him in awe and disbelief. "Such a finely crafted artifact," Elidar murmured, his voice filled with a mixture of admiration and astonishment. To think they managed to imbue such complexity and power within such a compact medallion. As the ethereal light danced across the medallion's surface, Ellider couldn't help but marvel at the craftsmanship. Michael decided to embark on a perilous journey to the sea realm, determined to obtain another seed of darkness that would permanently activate the system. With the system operational, he would be able to resurrect the dormant demon bodies and confront the gods themselves. Despite Nithrol's warning about not returning to the mortal realm until reaching the celestial stage, Michael had to take the risk. The sea realm held the key to bringing the system online, as it was the only way he could earn the crucial experience points necessary to ascend to the celestial stage. Ellider, stay here with the wood elves, Michael commanded, his voice firm and resolute. Assist them in dismantling the outpost of the Sky Hall soldiers. I will provide you with explosives and poisons to make the task easier. Taskin and Thilv, realizing their god was once again departing their world, knelt before him, a mixture of concern and anticipation etched on their faces. My lord, when will you return? Taskin inquired, his voice tinged with a hint of longing. If all goes according to plan, he'll be back soon, Michael reassured them, his gaze filled with determination. With a nod of gratitude, Ellider returned the skull medallion to Michael. As the medallion rested in his palm, Michael focused his thoughts on the house of Ellider, the place where he had last parted ways with Mutrad. Infusing the medallion with a sliver of arch-energy, he felt its power surge and shimmer with anticipation. Before him, a portal materialized, a swirling gateway to the unknown. Taking a deep breath, Michael steeled himself and stepped into the portal, leaving behind his loyal followers and the familiar realm of Aitnes. I think you should take a look at inside the house of Halrid. Valen sat regally upon his throne, while his fellow elders occupied a row of seats before him. The hall itself was a marvel of underwater construction, nestled in the depths of the ocean. With no sunlight to penetrate its depths, the hall relied on the ethereal glow of the Arctic barrier surrounding the city as its primary light source. The hall's architecture was nothing short of majestic, reflecting the grandeur and power of the Halrids. Intricate designs adorned the walls, showcasing the craftsmanship of the ancient builders. The ceiling soared high above, adorned with a magnificent chandelier that shimmered with a soft, blue luminescence. Each crystal sparkled like stars in the vast oceanic night sky, casting gentle rays of light that danced and played upon the water below. Behind Valen, a wall made of transparent glass revealed the mesmerizing expanse of the deep blue sea. Schools of vibrant fish swam gracefully, their colorful scales reflecting the scattered light. Their presence added a sense of tranquility to the hall, as if the creatures of the ocean were drawn to witness the council of the Halrid elders. The gentle currents outside the glass wall swayed the seaweed and coral, creating a mesmerizing display of movement and life. The vibrant hues of the underwater flora and fauna painted a vivid tapestry against the backdrop of the endless blue sea. It was a sight that reminded the elders of their connection to the vast oceanic realm they called home. Unlike the calm sea behind them, Valen and the elders bore a frown on their faces, indicating the turmoil in their hearts. Among the elders, Mutrad was one of them. In fact, after Michael, the Dark Lord slaughtered the elders of House Arctic and majority of the House Gladrath, Mutrad had been assisting Valen in regaining the stability in Arctic Hall. Without the Arctic Hall elders and House Gladrath, some of the Serpent Hall elders were making their moves against Arctic Hall. This was a delicate era for the Sea Realm as their peace was overridden by people's greed for power, especially the people of Sea Serpent Hall. Contrary to the serene sea beyond, the faces of Valen and the elders bore a collective frown, betraying the internal turmoil they experienced. Among them, Mutrad stood as one of the key figures. After the Dark Lord, Michael, had mercilessly slain the elders of House Arctic and decimated House Gladrath, Mutrad had tirelessly assisted Valen in restoring stability to the Arctic Hall. However, with the absence of the Arctic Hall elders and the weakened House Gladrath, the Serpent Hall elders had begun to make their moves, driven by their thirst for power. This delicate era tested the peace of the Sea Realm, as the ambition of the Serpent Hall threatened to overshadow their harmonious existence. We must heed the information provided by our spies in Watergod Hall, Lord Valen, voiced one of the gray-haired elders. Elder Keelan speaks the truth. Our scholars suspect that the recent tremors in Widow's Down are a result of some form of energy radiation. If our spies are correct, Water God Hall has already dispatched a team to investigate the matter, added another elder. Mutrad, with a somber tone, interjected, with all due respect to Elder Keelan and Elder Mirian, investigating unknown energy radiation in Widow's Down should be our least pressing concern. We have received multiple reports indicating that the Sea Serpent Hall is preparing for an invasion, and numerous elders in House Gormak are conspiring with them. If we do not address the threat posed by the Sea Serpent Hall promptly, the House of Howrid itself will be at risk. Mutrad's words were met with a tumultuous response from the gathered elders, filled with curses and shouts of disagreement. Do not create a scene, boy. The last time we followed your advice and sought the Dark Lord's aid, it resulted in the deaths of our esteemed elders and the ruin of House Gladrath. If anyone is to blame for the instability within the Arctic Hall, it is you, rebuked Elder Keelan. As soon as the name Dark Lord escaped Elder Keelan's lips, an uneasy silence enveloped the hall. The air grew heavy with a mix of fear and trepidation. Elder Keelan himself realized the weight of his words, having uttered the name of the man who instilled terror in their hearts. With all due respect, Elder Keelan, let us not forget that it was a unanimous decision to seek the Dark Lord's assistance, calmly interjected Elder Markey, a wise elder with silver hair and serene eyes. The Dark Lord agreed to retrieve our artifact, and he fulfilled his promise. Though we cannot disregard the fact that he brought about the demise of the elders and House Gladrath, it is unfair to lay the blame solely on Mutrad's shoulders. I implore you to consider Mutrad's counsel. Our immediate threat lies with the Sea Serpent Hall. Reflect upon this. Even if we were to investigate the origin of the tremors, the Water God Hall has already dispatched a team to Widow's Down. If our scholars are correct and the cause is indeed something within Widow's Down, it will fall under the jurisdiction of the Water God Hall. Whether it is a gift or a curse, they will claim it. Regrettably, we are not in a position to oppose the Water God Hall, Elder Markey reasoned with wisdom and insight. Mutrad, who had pledged his loyalty to the Dark Lord in order to save his world and the House of Howrid, felt a sense of helplessness wash over him. It had been a year since he last heard from the Dark Lord, and news of his recent return and the shocking destruction of the Guardian Guild had spread throughout the sea realm like wildfire. Yet, the Dark Lord had not contacted Mutrad, leaving him in a state of uncertainty and concern. In the event that circumstances become dire, we must consider the possibility of aligning ourselves with the Sea Serpent Hall. We are in no position to engage in a conflict with them, especially since many of the elders from House Gormak have already struck deals with the Sea Serpent Hall. Elder Markey's words echoed through the hall, eliciting gasps of disbelief. However, Mutrad was among the few who found merit in Markey's suggestion. That option is not viable. I have consulted with the ancestors in the Immortal Council, and they do not wish for us to join the Sea Serpent Hall and forsake the legacy they have worked tirelessly to establish. They want us to resist and fight, finally spoke Valen, the esteemed leader of the House of Howrid. Unfortunately, his words confirmed Mutrad's apprehensions, leaving him with a heavy heart and a sense of foreboding. As the elders and Valen continued their discussion, an inexplicable change seemed to permeate the air within the hall. A sudden chill settled in, causing the atmosphere to grow still. The elders and Valen exchanged perplexed glances, sensing an unusual shift in the airflow that intensified with each passing moment. The once gentle breeze transformed into a fierce gust, swirling with an unsettling force. Caught off guard by this anomaly, the elders and Valen furrowed their brows, their expressions etched with concern. Their attention became fixated on a peculiar sight unfolding before them, a vortex materializing right in the heart of the hall. Guards! Mutrad's urgent cry reverberated through the chamber, prompting the armored soldiers stationed nearby to respond swiftly. Drawing their weapons, the elders and guards prepared to defend themselves against this unexpected intrusion. The soldiers, in a display of agility and discipline, rushed into the hall, encircling the swirling portal with unwavering determination. Their eyes remained fixed upon the mysterious phenomenon as anticipation and tension filled the air. Then, in a slow and deliberate manner, a figure emerged from within the depths of the portal. The collective gasp that escaped the lips of the elders resonated through the hall, leaving them utterly astonished. The man who stepped forth, to their disbelief, was none other than the Dark Lord himself. Chapter 10:15. Fighting a fallen god. As Michael surveyed the soldiers, their weapons held tightly in their grasp, a faint smile curved his lips. The tension in the air was palpable, but he knew there was no need for conflict. They were merely pawns in a game they did not fully comprehend. Soldiers, Michael spoke with calm authority, his voice carrying across the room. There is no point in engaging in combat. I have no quarrel with you. The soldiers exchanged uncertain glances, their eyes flickering with a mixture of confusion and suspicion. They had been trained to follow orders without question, to defend their realm from any perceived threat. Yet, standing before them was the enigmatic Dark Lord himself, the very embodiment of the danger they were taught to fear. Before the situation escalated further, Valen, seated regally upon his throne, leaped to his feet. His eyes widened with both surprise and concern as he hurriedly made his way towards Michael, leaving behind the council of elders who watched the unfolding scene with bated breath. What is the meaning of this intrusion, Dark Lord? Valen's voice resonated with authority, demanding an explanation for the sudden appearance of the formidable figure before him. Michael turned his gaze towards Valen, meeting his piercing stare. Valen, I mean you no harm, he replied, his voice laced with a cool confidence. I have come here seeking information, not conflict. Valen's expression softened slightly, curiosity mingling with caution. Information? About what? From within the depths of his black, flowing coat, Michael retrieved a weathered map, causing the soldiers to tense up at the mere movement of his hands. Their fingers tightened around their weapons, ready to strike if necessary. Ignoring their reaction, Michael unfolded the map and laid it upon the nearest surface, revealing a parchment hidden within his pocket. Valen felt reluctant but eventually took the map from the Dark Lord's outstretched hand. As he unfurled it, his eyes widened in shock and disbelief. The map displayed their vast sea realm, with intricate markings indicating various locations of significance. But what caught Valen's attention was a particular spot marked with a bold X, the treacherous and uncharted region known as Widow's Down. You're pointing at Widow's Down, Valen stated, his voice betraying a mix of astonishment and caution. It is a dangerous place, shrouded in mystery and peril. Why would you be interested in that forsaken area? You don't have to worry about that, Valen. I just want to know if there is a way to reach this Widow's Down you speak of quickly, said Michael calmly and cryptically. Elder Markey, standing among the council of elders, a spark of realization lit up in his eyes. His mind raced with possibilities as he swiftly formulated a plan. This was an opportunity they couldn't afford to miss, an opportunity to potentially rid themselves of the Sea Serpent Hall's menace once and for all. Dark Lord, Elder Markey interjected, his voice soft but carrying a sense of purpose. If you are truly interested in Widow's Down, there might be a way to expedite your journey. All eyes turned towards Elder Markey, including Mutrad's, who felt a sense of apprehension at the old man's sudden plan. Mutrad understood the potential benefits of utilizing the Dark Lord's power against their enemies, but he also knew the dangers of underestimating Michael's capabilities. What do you mean, Elder Markey? Valen inquired, his gaze shifting between the elderly council member and the Dark Lord himself. Elder Markey's wrinkled face bore a knowing smile. Legends speak of a secret wind tunnel known only to the Sea Serpent Hall. It is said to be hidden away, leading to an area closest to Widow's Down. If you were to make use of this tunnel, you could potentially reach your destination swiftly and unnoticed. Mutrad's eyes widened in surprise, realizing the extent of Elder Markey's plan. The old man was attempting to manipulate the Dark Lord, to utilize his power to eliminate their enemies. While part of him recognized the practicality of such a strategy, another part warned against underestimating the Dark Lord's motives and capabilities. Michael, observing the exchange, maintained his composed demeanor. His eyes narrowed slightly as he assessed the elderly council member before him. He sensed the undercurrents of manipulation, the hidden intentions within Elder Marquis's words. After hearing Elder Marquis's words, a small, enigmatic smile played upon Michael's lips, his thoughts concealed behind his calm exterior. Mutrad, who had pledged his loyalty to the Dark Lord in secret, knew him better than anyone else in the hall. He gazed at the Dark Lord with unwavering eyes, understanding the complex nature of the situation. Meanwhile, the soldiers in the room jerked with unease at the Dark Lord's movement, fully aware that if he wished to attack, there would be no stopping him. They were acutely aware of the power he possessed, a power that could easily turn their encounter into a massacre. However, the Dark Lord's purpose in being there was not to unleash destruction upon them but to seek a swift path to Widow's Down. With his hands casually clasped behind his back, Michael began to pace around Valen and his entourage, his footsteps measured and deliberate. As he circled them, his voice resonated with a calm confidence. "Please forgive my skepticism, but I have lived long enough in this world to know that nothing comes without a price. Furthermore, the Sea Serpent Hall holds a significant position among the Great Eight clans, does it not? I understand that your sea realm prides itself on maintaining peaceful relations among the three clans. However, it is difficult for me to believe that the secret wind tunnel you propose, known only to the Sea Serpent Hall, is a mere coincidence," Michael calmly stated, his eyes keenly observing the reactions of the elders and Valen. As he expected, a flicker of unease passed across their faces, revealing the hidden agenda of the House of Halrid. "I may not know all the ins and outs of your sea realm, but I do know one thing. Peace doesn't last. It's just a fleeting moment in the grand scheme of things. People, my friends, always hunger for power. It's in their very nature. Now, considering what happened the last time, your precious Arctic Hall must be weakened. And let me tell you something, a weakened predator becomes nothing but prey. And mark my words, when one predator falls, another rises. So, tell me straight, have you become nothing but helpless prey to the Sea Serpent Hall?" Michael's voice dripped with a cool, confident aura, his piercing gaze fixed on Valen and the elders, challenging them to face the harsh reality of their situation. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle upon the gathered leaders. His piercing gaze scanned their faces, seeking the truth hidden within their expressions. It was evident that the House of Halrid had its own motives and hidden fears, and Michael intended to uncover them. "I think you should take a look at. So, I ask you plainly, have you become the prey of the Sea Serpent Hall, your once allies turned predators?" Michael's voice resonated with a mix of curiosity and authority, leaving no room for evasion. He awaited their response, poised to unravel the intricate web of power and deception that lay before him. After hearing Michael's probing words, Valen understood that hiding their troubles with the Sea Serpent Hall was futile. However, he was reluctant to involve the Dark Lord in their affairs. If it came down to it, Valen would rather join forces with the Sea Serpent Hall than engage in a futile battle that would only result in the loss of their fellow House of Halrid members. Valen recognized that there was no point in fighting a losing battle and sacrificing lives. Bringing the Dark Lord into the conflict would undoubtedly lead to victory against the Sea Serpent Hall, but it would also bring destruction upon them. As the Dark Lord himself had pointed out, without the Sea Serpent Hall, the sea realm would become weakened. And as he had warned, when a weakened prey attracts another predator, chaos would ensue. Valen had no desire to witness such devastation. "Forgive Elder Marquis if he had any hidden intentions, Dark Lord. Elder Marquis wants what's best for our house, and yes, we do face troubles with the Sea Serpent Hall. However, we will handle this matter within our own realm. We do not require your assistance," Valen declared, his voice filled with a mixture of determination and a desire to protect his people. Upon hearing Valen's words, Michael simply smiled, his gaze unwavering. "I respect your choice. Now, I shall take my leave and head towards the Sea Serpent Hall," Michael responded. Valen signaled the guards to escort the Dark Lord through a secret exit, ensuring that no one else witnessed his departure from the House of Halrid. The soldiers, though fearful, gestured for Michael to follow them. They led him along a narrow glass pathway, offering a breathtaking view of the deep sea. Michael marveled at the beauty before him, the vibrant golden-colored fish and the mesmerizing array of unknown deep-sea creatures that gracefully swam around. Finally, they arrived at a hall where a circular hollow lay on the floor. Michael knew it would open up, granting him passage into the depths of the sea, where he would journey towards the Sea Serpent Hall. Travel north, following the current. It will guide you to the Sea Serpent Hall, one of the guards informed him, to which Michael nodded in understanding. Just as he was about to step into the hollow, Mutrad entered the hall. "You too, leave us," Mutrad commanded, ordering the guards to depart, leaving him alone with the Dark Lord. "My lord," Mutrad spoke once the two guards had left them alone. "Is it wise for you to meet me alone, my lord? You don't want the elders to discover that I have secretly pledged my loyalty to you," Michael said calmly, a smile playing upon his lips. "Some of the elders already suspect my allegiance to you, but they lack any concrete proof," Mutrad sighed, his voice tinged with resignation. "If you are concerned about me bringing destruction upon your world, fear not. I am not a threat to your realm. Besides, there is a greater danger looming over us as we speak," Michael assured him, implying that the true enemy was none other than the Sea Serpent Hall. "The gods have arrived, Mutrad, and I have reliable information that they seek to make every sentient being their worshipper. Those who resist them will face annihilation," Michael revealed, his tone carrying a weight of seriousness. It was evident that Mutrad was already aware of the rising threat posed by the fallen gods. "Are you referring to the fallen gods?" Mutrad asked, his voice filled with a mixture of concern and curiosity. "The fallen gods are mere weaker beings trapped within the mortal realm, Mutrad. There exists a realm above ours, the realm of gods itself. Those deities are the real deal. You call me the big, bad, evil Dark Lord, don't you? Well, just wait until you witness the descent of the true gods upon your precious world," Michael chuckled softly. Truth be told, he harbored no illusions about the benevolence and kindness of the gods in the realm above. The god of necromancy, Forcrux, the god of war, and the god of time and space were anything but merciful and gentle. In Michael's eyes, the realm of gods was a place even more sinister than the mortal realm. "So, you can relax. I am not the greatest threat you should fear at this moment," Michael chuckled again, turning to leave. "Dark Lord, wait." Mutrad halted Michael in his tracks. "I have information about the Sea Serpent Hall that you should know before you depart," Mutrad said, causing Michael to slowly turn around, his interest piqued. "The leader of the Sea Serpent Hall has awakened. He is what you refer to as a fallen god. Expect intense battles and goosebumps badass scenes in this arc. It is time for the Dark Lord's enemies to fall down one by one. The rise of the Dark Lord begins." Chapter 1016, Fighting a Fallen God 2. After receiving the startling revelation about the presence of a fallen god within the Sea Serpent Hall, Michael found himself re-evaluating his approach to the impending encounter. During his journey from the House of Halrid, nestled in the depths of the Arctic Hall's underground ocean city, to the Sea Serpent Hall, he had ample time to reconsider his strategies. Equipped with his specially designed armor, Michael possessed the ability to withstand the immense pressure of the underwater depths and breathe comfortably. As he ventured closer to his destination, his skull-faced mask materialized over his visage, concealing his features with meticulous precision. The mask not only added to his formidable appearance but also housed a contraption that generated a steady supply of breathable air, allowing him to navigate the underwater terrain effortlessly. As Michael drew nearer to the Sea Serpent Hall, the three concentric rings that comprised the city's architecture glimmered under the radiant light emanating from the energy dome. Each ring held its own allure, contributing to the city's ethereal charm. At the center of the city, the third and innermost ring housed the pinnacle of power and authority, the Royal Palace. This grand structure, crafted from gleaming white coral and adorned with shimmering pearls, exuded an air of regality and prestige. Its towering walls and majestic archways spoke of the king's dominion, while its interior boasted opulent halls and chambers adorned with exquisite artworks and ornate furnishings. It was within these hallowed walls that King Serpent and his court held court, making decisions that shaped the destiny of the Sea Serpent Hall. As Mutrad had informed him, The elusive wind tunnel that would lead him closest to Widow's Down was said to be hidden within the Serpent King's castle. If Mutrad's words were to be believed, the Serpent King himself had obtained divine grace and ascended to the status of a god, albeit a fallen one, trapped within the mortal realm due to the previous Dark Lord's barrier. A mixture of disbelief and curiosity laced Michael's voice as he uttered, "Is that?" His words trailed off as he caught sight of a familiar figure in the distance, surrounded by a translucent energy dome that shielded him from the crushing pressure of the sea. To his astonishment, it was none other than Evan Clark. Memories flooded back to Michael, reminding him of the last time they had crossed paths. It had been during the tumultuous period when Michael unleashed his fury upon Wuxia, and Evan had joined the Guardian Guild, fighting alongside Zanali in a desperate attempt to quell the chaos. What took Michael by surprise even more was the ethereal aura enveloping Evan, reminiscent of the orc who had been possessed by a sliver of Rudra's divine grace. Furthermore, Evan's cultivation power surpassed any scale Michael had encountered before, making it difficult for him to gauge its true extent. Although momentarily taken aback by Evan's formidable power, Michael did not perceive him as a significant threat, even with the grace. Unlike Evan, whose godhood level would remain stagnant unless he amassed millions of loyal worshippers in both the mortal realm and the realm of gods, Michael possessed the ability to level up his own godhood rapidly. He only needed to locate and absorb the seeds of darkness, as well as eliminate individuals to earn experience points and advance his power. This unique method of progression made Andor, the ruler of Hell, consider Michael a far greater threat to the gods and the realm of gods than even Dagon himself. Keeping himself concealed amidst the towering coral reefs and massive coral structures, Michael silently observed as Evan entered the city of Serpent and began his journey toward the castle. "Stop right there." The earthen guards, resembling graceful carp or catfish, called out to Evan as he approached the castle. Their shimmering scales caught the light, and their 2 arms, each with 3 fingers, enabled them to interact with their surroundings. Some of the guards had small feet that allowed them to walk on land, while others floated above the ground with an air of fluidity. From his hidden vantage point behind the coral structures, Michael continued to observe Evan's encounter with the guards. One by one, more royal guards, positioned in various stages of cultivation, emerged to surround Evan. To Michael's surprise, these guards were at either the fusion stage level 10 or the half-immortal stage, showcasing their formidable power. When Michael utilized his X-ray vision to scan the castle, he discovered the presence of several immortal stage guards within its walls. The sheer strength and number of these guards astonished him. However, something seemed amiss to Michael. The energy radiation emanating from the guards appeared unstable and violent, as if they had utilized unconventional methods to accelerate their cultivation at a pace that their bodies and souls could not fully endure. Unbeknownst to Michael, the Serpent King, after attaining godhood, had used his grace to strengthen his army, resulting in the unstable energy radiation Michael now observed. If this fallen god has any grudges against me, imagine the experience points I could gain by slaughtering his army and absorbing their souls once the system is online. Michael couldn't help but savor the thought of the potential experience points that awaited him. "Stand down. I am here to see your Serpent King," Evan declared with an authoritative tone, exuding immense self-confidence and authority granted by his godhood. This assertion caused Michael to chuckle, reminiscing about the time he had sent Evan flying with a single punch, rendering him unconscious. "You have no right to be here, human. Leave now, or we will take you down," one of the earthen guards responded sternly, his voice filled with authority. Evan, growing impatient, clenched his fist and issued a warning to the guards. "Guys, I don't want to do this. But I am on a tight schedule here. So stand down or I will make you." Despite Evan's threat, the guards remained resolute, refusing to back down. Their determination was unwavering, and they stood their ground, prepared to defend their post. Meanwhile, Michael, observing the situation from his hiding spot, devised a backup plan to handle Evan. Just as the tension filled the air, a thunderous voice reverberated throughout the entire Serpent Hall. All eyes turned toward the source of the voice, and Michael raised his head, catching sight of a figure emerging onto the balcony atop the castle. The presence commanded attention, exuding an aura of power and authority. As the figure stepped onto the balcony, the grandeur of his presence became apparent. He was a merman, standing tall and regal, his upper body exuding an otherworldly beauty reminiscent of the elven kind. Adorned in kingly robes that billowed around him, he commanded attention wherever he went. The crimson-red trident held firmly in his hand showcased his authority and power. A crimson-red crown adorned his head, its intricate design resembling the hood of a cobra. The crown curved gracefully, framing his face and accentuating his noble features. Atop his head, a part of the crown extended upward, resembling the head of a cobra ready to strike, adding an intimidating touch to his appearance. His muscular physique, evident even beneath the flowing robes, spoke of immense strength and power. Every movement he made seemed effortless, displaying a sense of control and dominance. His eyes glimmered with anger and arrogance as he looked down upon Evan, his gaze filled with superiority. With a commanding presence, the Serpent King surveyed the scene below him, his gaze fixated on Evan. Every fiber of his being exuded authority and dominance, leaving no doubt that he was a force to be reckoned with in the Sea Serpent Hall. Serpent King, I come before you with a pressing matter that requires your assistance. We must speak at once. Evan spoke with determination, hoping to convey the urgency of his request. However, his words were met with a mocking laugh from the Serpent King, further fueling Evan's surprise and curiosity. You think me a fool, human? I am well aware of your intentions. You seek to use my wind tunnel to reach Widow's Down, the Serpent King responded, his voice laced with a hint of disdain. I think you should take a look at Evan composed himself, maintaining his calmness despite the unexpected revelation. If you know why I need to reach Widow's Down before the Dark Lord, then you understand the gravity of the situation. Time is of the essence, Evan explained, emphasizing the urgency that hung in the air. The mention of the Dark Lord's name stirred unease among the soldiers, their whispers betraying their fear. Yet, it was the Serpent King's reaction that surprised both Evan and Michael. The Serpent King's eyes blazed with anger, his body trembling with pure rage at the mere mention of the Dark Lord's name. The Dark Lord will not set foot in my kingdom and leave unscathed, the Serpent King spat, his words dripping with venom and hatred. Realizing the precarious situation and the imminent danger posed by the Dark Lord, Evan tried to reason with the Serpent King. If I have learned that the quickest way to reach Widow's Down is through your wind tunnel, then the Dark Lord may have discovered it as well. Every moment wasted brings him closer to your castle. Let me assist you, Serpent King, Evan pleaded, hoping to find a compromise. The Serpent King's expression twisted into a sneer, his anger unyielding. You wish to help me? Then bring me the Dark Lord's head, and I shall grant you access to my wind tunnel. Until then, you can fuck off, the Serpent King coldly declared, turning away and dismissing Evan without a second thought. A sneer crossed the Serpent King's face as he turned away, dismissing Evan's request. You leave me no choice, Evan clenched his fist, his eyes beginning to glow with a golden light. The earthen guards surrounding him became aware of the low hum emanating from Evan, a clear sign that he was about to unleash his power. Sensing danger, they braced themselves, knowing that Evan was about to strike. True to their expectations, Evan unleashed a powerful shockwave of golden energy, propelling the guards backward and leaving a trail of chaos in his wake. With a swift and fluid motion, Evan unleashed a barrage of spells and physical attacks upon the earthen guards. Brilliant bursts of blue and golden light illuminated the surroundings as powerful spells erupted from his fingertips. The air crackled with energy, and the ground trembled with each devastating strike. The people in the vicinity suddenly became aware of the fierce conflict unfolding before them. Panic ensued as they scattered in all directions, seeking safety from the escalating confrontation. The peaceful atmosphere shattered as the sound of crashing spells and the clash of steel reverberated through the air. In the midst of the chaos, the Serpent King halted his steps, his curiosity piqued by the commotion behind him. He turned around, his crimson eyes fixated on the spectacle before him. A twisted smile played across his face as he observed Evan, a mere human, daring to challenge his guards. Michael, hidden among the coral structures, watched the fight unfold with a mix of surprise and anticipation. The display of Evan's power intrigued him, and he studied every move, spell, and strike with keen interest. Evan's attacks were relentless and precise, each blow landing with pinpoint accuracy. Guards were thrown into the air, crashing into buildings with bone-shattering force. Spells tore through the air, leaving trails of destruction in their wake. The guards fought back valiantly, their roars of defiance echoing through the battlefield. Citizens, shocked and confused, watched the unfolding spectacle with wide eyes. "What is happening?" one person gasped, clutching their loved ones tightly. Amidst the chaos, the guards bellowed at each other, their voices filled with determination and anger. "Take him down," one guard growled, swinging his weapon with all his might. "Protect the Serpent King," another shouted, their voice filled with loyalty and unwavering dedication. The clash between Evan and the guards intensified, with each side unleashing their most devastating techniques. The guards coughed up blood as they crashed into buildings and the unforgiving ground, their bodies battered and bruised. As the battle between Evan and the guards raged on, the Serpent King's eyes narrowed with a mix of irritation and amusement. With a sudden movement, he raised his crimson-red trident, channeling his power into a concentrated beam of energy. The beam shot forth, colliding with Evan and sending him hurtling through the air, crashing into a nearby structure with a resounding impact. Hovering effortlessly in the air, the Serpent King slowly descended from the balcony, his presence exuding an overwhelming aura of authority and power. His eyes glowed with a malevolent gleam as he approached Evan, a wicked smile curling upon his lips. "So, you dare to challenge me, human?" the Serpent King taunted, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I suppose I should thank you for providing me with some entertainment. It has been far too long since I've had a good battle to stretch my muscles." In a display of unfathomable power, the Serpent King's form began to transform. His body elongated and contorted, his once regal appearance taking on the shape of a giant crimson-red cobra. Majestic wings sprouted from his back, and his fangs grew longer and sharper. A red mist emanated from his serpentine form, swirling around him with an ominous presence. The Serpent King, now a colossal serpent with immense wings, towered over the battlefield, his crimson scales glistening under the ambient light. His piercing eyes locked onto Evan, radiating a hunger for victory and dominance. With a voice that echoed through the air, the Serpent King hissed, "Prepare yourself, human. You shall witness the might of a true god." Chapter 10:17. Serpent King's love is Michael's subordinate? The Serpent King lunged forward with incredible speed, his massive form surging through the air towards Evan. In a swift motion, he coiled his serpentine tail around Evan's body, constricting him tightly. Evan struggled against the powerful grip, his muscles straining as he attempted to break free. With his cobra head hovering mere inches away from Evan's face, the Serpent King hissed with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "There's something peculiar about your grace, human. It feels different, tainted somehow." Evan gritted his teeth, his determination evident despite his predicament. "You know nothing. My grace is my own, and I will not be stopped by the likes of you." The Serpent King chuckled, his voice echoing with a hint of amusement. "We shall see, human. We shall see." As Evan continued to struggle against the constricting coils of the Serpent King's tail, Michael observed the scene in silence from his hidden vantage point. He could sense the immense power emanating from the Serpent King and understood the danger that Evan was facing. However, he saw an opportunity amidst the chaos. While the Serpent King was focused on his confrontation with Evan, Michael formulated a plan to infiltrate the castle. He knew he had to seize this moment to make his move, utilizing the distraction to navigate through the Serpent King's domain undetected. As the Serpent King poised his fangs to strike, Evan's eyes blazed with golden energy. With a mighty roar, he summoned forth his own power, surging with a raw force that shattered the coils of the Serpent King's tail. Freed from the constricting grip, Evan launched himself forward, delivering a powerful punch that connected with the Serpent King's scaled jaw. However, the Serpent King was not so easily defeated. With a swift swing of his powerful tail, he sent Evan hurtling through the air, crashing into the nearby structures. The impact shook the ground beneath them, causing debris to scatter in all directions. Unfurling his majestic wings, the Serpent King soared higher into the sky, his snake-like body morphing to accommodate a humanoid hand. The crimson-red trident flew into his hand, gleaming with malevolent intent. With a swift motion, he thrust the trident towards Evan, aiming to impale him upon its deadly prongs. But Evan was prepared. As the trident descended, he channeled his energy, creating a shimmering golden chakra that formed a defensive barrier around him. The clash between the trident and the golden shield sent shockwaves rippling through the air, causing the barrier to flicker and shimmer. Their fierce battle took them beyond the confines of the balcony and into the open ocean outside the city. Breaking through the energy dome that protected the city, they continued their airborne struggle amidst the vast expanse of water. The barrier of the dome crackled and shimmered as they passed through, the protective magic being tested to its limits. Surrounded by the shimmering waters, Evan and the Serpent King engaged in a high-stakes confrontation. Their powerful forms clashed, creating ripples and waves that cascaded through the ocean. "Thank you, Evan," Michael whispered under his breath, his voice carried away by the turbulent waters. With a determined resolve, he set his sights on the castle and began making his way towards it, navigating through the swirling currents caused by the ongoing battle between Evan and the Serpent King. The ripples in the water distorted Michael's vision, making it challenging to move in a straight line. But he relied on his instincts and honed reflexes, darting through the chaotic underwater environment with lightning speed. He deftly avoided the guards who were caught up in the spectacle of the battle, their attention completely focused on the epic struggle unfolding before them. As Michael neared the castle, he observed the soldiers exchanging awe-filled remarks about the Serpent King's formidable moves and devastating attacks. Their voices were muffled by the water, but their words carried a mix of admiration and fear. "Did you see how he coiled around Evan like a true serpent?" one soldier exclaimed. "That strike with his fangs was quick as lightning," another soldier added. "He's relentless. The Serpent King's power is unmatched." While the soldiers were engrossed in discussing the Serpent King's prowess, Michael seized the opportunity to slip past them unnoticed. He swiftly made his way to the same balcony where the Serpent King had made his first appearance. Without hesitation, Michael stepped onto the balcony, his figure shrouded in shadows. The soldiers, still caught up in their conversation about the ongoing battle, failed to notice his presence. In the midst of their discussions, they were oblivious to the infiltrator moving with purpose towards the heart of the castle. As Michael landed inside the castle through the balcony, he swiftly scanned his surroundings. The dimly lit hallway stretched before him, adorned with elegant tapestries and intricate carvings. But his attention was quickly drawn to the sound of approaching footsteps. A group of soldiers rounded the corner, their armor clinking with each step. They caught sight of Michael standing in the hallway, and their eyes widened in alarm. "Intruder!" one soldier shouted, his voice echoing through the corridor. The others reacted with instinctive aggression, drawing their weapons and lunging towards Michael. Clad in his full Dark Lord armor, Michael remained calm and composed. He covered his face with his skull mask, its intimidating presence instilling fear in the hearts of his enemies. The soldiers, however, were little too late to realize the true extent of Michael's power. "I think you should take a look at." With a burst of speed, Michael utilized his lightning dash spell, which allowed him to move with blinding swiftness. He closed the distance between himself and the group of soldiers in an instant. His dark sword gleamed ominously as it sliced through the air. One by one, the soldiers fell before him, their bodies unable to withstand the devastating power of his strikes. Blood splattered on the walls, and their screams were muffled by the dark aura that enveloped Michael's sword. The clash was over in mere moments, leaving only one soldier standing. He trembled in fear, witnessing the merciless efficiency with which Michael dispatched his comrades. Michael stared at the lone soldier, his voice carrying a chilling undertone. "Tell me where I can find the wind tunnel." The remaining soldier trembled under Michael's intense gaze, sweat trickling down his forehead. He stuttered, struggling to form coherent words. I don't know, please." Without warning, Michael tightened his grip on the soldier's shoulder, his fingers digging into the flesh. The soldier winced in pain as the pressure began to break his shoulder, his cries filling the corridor. "Tell me," Michael growled, his voice dripping with menace. "Where can I find the wind tunnel?" Tears streamed down the soldier's face as he whimpered in agony. "It might be in the Serpent King's chamber. He keeps many secrets there." Satisfied with the answer, Michael released his hold on the soldier, who collapsed to the ground, clutching his injured shoulder. The soldier looked up at Michael with pleading eyes, silently begging for mercy. But Michael was not the one to grant mercy to his foes. Instead of granting mercy, Michael fired the dark beams out of his eyes, turning the soldier's head into a bloody pulp. As Michael moved swiftly through the castle, his X-ray eyes granted him the ability to see through the walls, revealing the secrets hidden within. His gaze pierced through the stone, revealing a hidden chamber beyond. Inside, he observed 4 imposing figures clad in armor, radiating a powerful aura. These were no ordinary guards. They were immortal stage warriors, guardians of great strength and skill. Michael's instincts told him that whatever lay behind the guarded door must hold significant importance for the Serpent King. This could very well be the entrance to the Serpent King's chamber, the heart of his power and secrets. "What's happening out there?" one of the guards at the immortal stage asked. They were dressed in crimson-red scales, resembling the scales of the Serpent King himself. "Shouldn't we go and investigate?" another guard questioned, concern evident in his voice. "No," replied a third guard firmly. "His Majesty has given us strict orders to remain at our posts. Whatever is happening outside, we can trust that our fellow guards can handle it." The conversation turned to the whereabouts of the Serpent King, who had gone to the balcony and had yet to return. Speculation arose among the guards as to whether their king was engaged in battle. "Perhaps His Majesty is fighting," one guard pondered aloud. "If that's the case, I pity whoever he's facing," another guard chuckled, their confidence in their own strength apparent. To the guards, reaching the immortal stage was seen as the ultimate achievement of power. They believed that once they had attained this level, no one could pose a threat to them. And in truth, there were only a select few beings in the world who had achieved immortality. However, what they failed to realize was that there was one being who had surpassed the immortal stage and ascended to an even higher realm of power. The Dark Lord, having transcended immortality and reached the elusive realm of half-celestial, was preparing to unleash his wrath upon them. Soon, they would come face to face with the undeniable truth that their perceived invincibility was nothing more than a fragile illusion in the presence of such formidable might. The guards' ears perked up as they caught the sound of heavy footsteps approaching. Their eyes widened in fear as they turned their gazes toward the left. Emerging from around the corner was a figure shrouded in complete black armor, donning a menacing skull mask and a billowing black cape. Their hearts pounded with dread, and an overwhelming sense of fear gripped their beings. Unbeknownst to them, Michael had released a potent fear toxin into the air from his suit of armor, further intensifying their terror and rendering them weak. Before the guards could react, Michael raised his hand, unleashing a wave of dark flames that surged forth. Initially, their armor resisted the dark flames, but the second and third waves proved too powerful, melting the soldiers' armor and consuming them within its fiery embrace. The agonizing screams of the soldiers echoed through the hallway, sending shivers down Michael's spine. As he heard more footsteps approaching, he swiftly kicked open the door that the guards had been protecting, entering the chamber where the Serpent King awaited. However, upon stepping into the chamber, he was taken aback by a portrait hanging on the wall above a magnificent bed. It depicted a young woman with flowing black hair, and without a shadow of a doubt, Michael recognized her despite only knowing her face from a younger age. "Cindy," Michael whispered, his voice filled with surprise and confusion. Chapter 10:18, Serpent King's Return. Michael stood in stunned silence, his gaze fixed upon Cindy's portrait hanging prominently in the Serpent King's room. It depicted her in her older age, perhaps in her late 20s, a young woman filled with beauty and grace. The sight perplexed Michael, leaving him to wonder why the Serpent King would possess such a portrait. "What the fuck? Who are you? Half celestial?" Lost in his thoughts, Michael momentarily forgot about the soldiers rushing into the room, their voices filled with alarm and confusion. However, their cries were abruptly silenced as Michael effortlessly raised his hand and unleashed lightning bolts from his fingertips, striking down the guards without even turning to face them. The sight of Cindy's portrait stirred a deep well of emotions within Michael. Though not consumed by anger, he felt an overwhelming surge of killing intent coursing through his veins. In that moment, anyone else might have succumbed to their rage and engaged the Serpent King in battle. However, Michael's rationality prevailed, and his focus shifted to finding the wind tunnel. Activating his X-ray eyes, Michael's irises glowed with an ethereal light as he scanned the entire room. His gaze swept across the chamber, taking in its details. Fallen soldiers lay motionless on the ground, their heads pierced by lightning bolts, a testament to Michael's lethal precision. Beyond them, his eyes caught sight of a concealed glowing rune hidden behind the Serpent King's room, beckoning him forward. Michael approached the rune, situated on the headboard of the bed, its invisible presence palpable beneath his fingertips. As he made contact with the rune, a surge of energy coursed through his body, causing a subtle trembling sensation. Without hesitation, Michael clenched his fist and struck the rune with a powerful blow, shattering the bed's head in the process. The moment the rune was shattered, a distinct clicking sound resonated from beneath the bed. Reacting swiftly, Michael delivered a forceful kick, sending the bed hurtling towards the wall. The impact caused the bed to splinter and break apart, unveiling a concealed floor hidden beneath it. The door on the hidden floor lacked a traditional knob or handle, instead featuring a singular rune as its means of activation. Unfazed by the absence of conventional mechanisms, Michael relied on his strength. He stomped forcefully on the ground, shattering the door into countless pieces. As the fragments scattered, a powerful gust of wind erupted from the newly revealed opening, engulfing the room and sending objects flying. In an instant, the swirling vortex began to pull everything within its reach, creating a powerful suction force. As the soldiers rushed into the room, their faces contorted with anger and determination, their shouts filled the air. "There he is! Take him down! Don't let him escape!" But their cries were abruptly cut short as the powerful suction force of the wind tunnel took hold. The soldiers, caught off guard by the sudden gust, struggled to maintain their balance. Helplessly, they were pulled towards the gaping hole, their screams echoing throughout the chamber. Amidst the chaos, Michael stood steadfast on the ground, rooted in place by his immense strength. The wind whipped around him, tugging at his cloak and armor, but he remained unmoved, unaffected by the pull of the wind tunnel. His eyes focused on the soldiers, his face expressionless as he witnessed their futile attempts to resist the relentless force. This chapter upload first at NWSB C0M. One by one, the soldiers were dragged closer to the edge of the hole, their outstretched hands desperately grasping for something to hold onto. Their screams grew more frantic as they were sucked into the wind tunnel, disappearing into the depths below. Michael watched in silence, his gaze unwavering, as the last soldier was swallowed by the wind tunnel. The room fell into an eerie stillness, the only sound remaining the faint howling of the wind. Michael peered down into the abyss, his gaze fixed on the swirling red mist that filled the wind tunnel. The mist, a macabre mixture of blood and shattered bodies, bore witness to the devastating power of the suction force. The soldiers who had been unfortunate enough to be pulled into the depths had met a gruesome fate, their bodies bursting from the sheer intensity of the wind's pull. Undeterred by the horrifying sight, Michael unfurled the metal wings concealed within his armor. The wings gleamed in the dim light of the chamber, their intricate design hinting at their hidden strength. With a leap of faith, he propelled himself into the wind tunnel, soaring through the crimson mist. As Michael descended further into the depths, the force of the wind intensified, threatening to tear him apart. Yet, he gritted his teeth and pressed onward, his wings beating against the powerful currents. The red mist engulfed him, obscuring his vision, but he remained resolute, guided by his unwavering determination. The wind tunnel seemed to stretch into an infinite abyss, with no end in sight. Michael braced himself against the unyielding forces, his eyes fixed on the unknown destination that awaited him. The roar of the wind echoed in his ears, urging him to forge ahead, deeper into the mysteries that lay beneath the Serpent King's castle. As Michael delved deeper into the depths of the ocean, the surroundings grew increasingly dim and foreboding. The once vibrant blue hue transformed into an abyssal darkness, enveloping everything in its grasp. The only sources of illumination were the ethereal glow emitted by a school of bioluminescent fish, their soft radiance casting an eerie light on the murky waters. Yet, it was the ominous red beam emanating from the skull on Michael's chest armor that provided him with a clearer view of his surroundings. Amidst the inky depths, a peculiar structure emerged, floating mysteriously in the depths of the ocean. The distant hum that reached Michael's ears heightened his anticipation. He knew that within this enigmatic structure lay the potential for acquiring another seed of darkness, a crucial step towards permanently restoring the dormant system. Drawing closer to the structure, Michael's senses sharpened, and he became aware of multiple presences lurking in its vicinity. Realizing the need for stealth, he swiftly deactivated the light beams emanating from his chest, merging seamlessly with the encompassing darkness. His form became indistinguishable, blending into the shadows as he observed the unfolding scene. His attention was drawn to a colossal eel-like creature, a behemoth that dwarfed the surrounding underwater landscape. Its immense size, comparable to a 3-story building, was emphasized by the crackling electric bolts that danced along its serpentine body. The monstrous creature approached the structure with a sense of purpose, its presence both awe-inspiring and unnerving. As Michael observed the colossal eel with chains and hooks embedded in its skin, blood trickling from its wounds, his curiosity intensified. However, his attention was quickly drawn to several mermen clad in emerald green armor who seemed to be in control of the chains. They were shouting commands at the eel, urging it to move swiftly and forcefully yanking the chains to guide its movements. "We need to break this structure before the other houses have a chance to reach it," one of the mermen exclaimed, their voice filled with urgency. "I think you should take a look at, pull harder, we cannot afford any delays," another merman barked, their eyes filled with determination. The mermen worked in unison, their movements graceful and fluid, as they coordinated their efforts to manipulate the eel and break free from the structure. Their emerald armor shimmered under the dim light, reflecting their otherworldly beauty. "Do not falter. We must succeed," a third merman shouted, their voice resonating with unwavering resolve. Their voices echoed through the water, mixing with the sounds of the eel's thunderous movements. Michael watched silently, blending into the darkness, as the mermen struggled against the resistance of the structure and the relentless pressure of the deep ocean. As the mermen yanked on the chains, the eel let out a deep, guttural growl of pain. The sound reverberated through the water, sending ripples of unease through Michael. The mermen, undeterred by the eel's distress, shouted at it with fierce determination. "Move, giant. Break through the structure," one merman commanded, their voice filled with urgency. "Use your strength. Tear it apart." Another merman called out, their tone resolute. The eel responded to their cries, its massive body writhing and thrashing against the restraints. The chains strained under the immense force, creaking and groaning as the eel fought to break free. With each pull, the eel's growls intensified, a symphony of pain and determination echoing through the water. "Push harder, giant. We must not let the other houses claim this power," a third merman urged, their voice filled with a mix of desperation and determination. As the mermen and the eel continued their struggle, a momentary connection passed between Michael and the giant eel. In that fleeting instant, it seemed as if the eel locked its eyes with Michael, as though silently pleading for assistance. Michael was taken aback by this unexpected connection, feeling a pang of empathy for the creature's pain. However, the eel's gaze quickly shifted away as the mermen forcefully pulled on the chains, urging it forward in agony. The eel's attention was solely focused on obeying its captors, its primal instincts overriding any potential alliance that could have formed with Michael. With a tremendous impact, the eel crashed into the structure, causing shockwaves to ripple through the surrounding waters. Michael felt the power of the impact reverberate through his body, witnessing the cracks forming on the surface of the strange cube-shaped structure. It was evident that the combined efforts of the eel and the mermans were having an effect, gradually weakening the integrity of the structure. Amidst the chaos, Michael's keen observation skills allowed him to identify 5 half-immortals among the soldiers of the Water God Hall. These half-immortals possessed a stable energy radiation, signifying their cultivation to the half-immortal stage had been achieved through natural means, without the use of shortcuts or artificial enhancements. As Michael saw the cracks widening, he sprang into action. True to his nature, he preferred to let his enemies do the heavy lifting while he reaped the rewards at the opportune moment. Swiftly navigating through the dark depths of the ocean, Michael raised his hand and took aim at the eel's chains. A bolt of lightning surged forth from his fingertips, speeding towards its target, intending to sever the bonds that held the eel captive. With pinpoint accuracy, the lightning bolt unleashed by Michael struck the hook attached to the chain, shattering it into pieces. The mermans who were controlling the eel stood in stunned silence, their eyes widening with disbelief. "The giant is breaking free," one merman shouted, panic lacing his voice. "Hold on tight. We can't let it escape." Enraged by its newfound freedom, the eel let out a thunderous roar, its massive body violently squirming as it struggled to break another chain. The mermans, realizing the imminent danger, swiftly reacted by thrusting a jade spear into the eel's side, attempting to subdue its rebellion. Unfazed by the merman's desperate efforts, Michael, undeterred, fired 2 more lightning bolts. The bolts crackled through the water, obliterating the remaining chains that restrained the giant eel. As the chains shattered, releasing the eel completely, the mermans let out horrified screams, their faces contorted with fear and shock. "The fucking giant is free," one merman cried out, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "It is free." Another merman, his voice filled with desperation, added, "We must retreat. We cannot fight against this unleashed power." As the eel swam freely, its rage echoed through the ocean depths, causing the water to churn and swirl. The mermans, overwhelmed by fear, quickly turned away, their thoughts consumed by the need to escape the wrath of the unleashed giant. As Michael silently observed the chaotic scene, a small smirk formed beneath his skull mask. With the giant eel now free, a burst of electricity shot from its body, electrifying everything within a 1-mile radius. Even Michael felt a chilling jolt of pain, but his armor protected him from the full force of the shock. The water god soldiers, clad in their jade armor, were shielded from the electrical surge, but they soon discovered that their armor provided no defense against the eel's vicious bites. Fueled by anger, the giant eel hunted down the soldiers one by one, overpowering them with its immense strength. Amidst the carnage, Michael watched with a twisted satisfaction, pleased with the chaos he had unleashed. However, his attention quickly shifted back to the cube-shaped structure. Determined to break it and claim the seed of darkness within, he propelled himself toward it with unwavering resolve. But just as he was about to shatter the structure, a crimson-red trident shot through the water, impaling his hand and pinning it against the structure. Michael's eyes widened behind his skull mask as he saw the Serpent King, now in his serpentine form, emerging through the wind tunnel and swiftly approaching him. "You are not getting it, Dark Lord," the Serpent King hissed, his voice laced with venomous intent. Read chapters 915 and 916 to refresh your memories. Chapter 1019. Serpent King Love Cindy. Michael forcefully pulled out the crimson-red trident that was embedded in his hand, grimacing at the pain it caused. As he struggled to free himself, the Serpent King swiftly approached, his transformed cobra head locking eyes with Michael's gaze. "I have waited countless years for this moment," hissed the Serpent King, his voice dripping with venom. However, faced with a fallen god and a threatening giant cobra, Michael remained unfazed. With a hint of mockery in his voice, Michael retorted, "Ever heard of breath mints?" He knew that as a god, he couldn't be killed, and he sensed that the Serpent King was about to embark on a peculiar tale. "You destroyed my love. Because of you, she never loved me back," hissed the Serpent King, his voice filled with bitterness and resentment. "Are you talking about Cindy?" Michael asked, his eyes cold and unyielding. As he uttered those words, the Serpent King's tail slowly coiled around Michael, tightening its grip. My eternal love, the love you shattered, hissed the Serpent King, his eyes revealing the pain of lost love and the bitterness of failure. With a cold tone, Michael replied, "You do realize that Cindy is just 11 years old, and I have no idea what you're talking about." A sinister smile crept across the Serpent King's face as his tail tightened its grip around Michael, exerting pressure that would shatter ordinary bones. "Allow me to refresh your memories, Dark Lord," hissed the Serpent King, his voice filled with a twisted determination. "When you stripped me of my grace, I hid my memories along with it. But now, I will make you open the barrier you placed around the mortal realm. Once I reclaim my true form, I will be unstoppable, and I will claim Cindy, the most exquisite mortal in all realms." The Serpent King revealed his true intentions, fueled by a burning desire for power and possession. Amidst the escalating tension, Michael's laughter erupted, echoing through the water. The Serpent King's tail exerted immense pressure, but Michael remained unaffected, his strength surpassing mortal limits, bolstered by his impenetrable armor. "What's so amusing? I may not be able to kill you, but I can break your mortal vessel and condemn your soul to wander this world for eternity," threatened the Serpent King, his voice laced with malice. Yet, Michael's laughter ceased abruptly, replaced by a sly smirk on his face. "So, you've regained your memories, and yet you chose to cross my path," Michael snickered, his voice dripping with amusement. "Listen carefully, you foolish snake. I am married to a serpent far more fearsome than you could ever comprehend. Believe me when I say that the version of me you encountered 5,000 years ago pales in comparison to the cruelty I am capable of. I possess a twisted creativity when it comes to dealing with my enemies. Trust me, you do not want to become my enemy. Step aside while you still have the chance," Michael warned, his tone laced with a hint of menace. However, the Serpent King paid no heed to Michael's warning. Arrogance consumed him, convinced that his elevated status as a level 2 god surpassed Michael's level 1 godhood. Little did he realize the depths of darkness and power that Michael truly held. "As much I hate you, I love the words you said to me before you stripped me of my grace. When you have your enemy at your mercy, don't talk, just end them," the Serpent King echoed the words of the previous Dark Lord. Despite the tightening grip of the Serpent King's tail and the venomous fangs poised to strike, Michael remained resolute. He prepared to unleash his dark flames upon his adversary, but before he could, a golden ball of light materialized above the Serpent King. In a flash, the golden ball struck the Serpent King, sending him stumbling backward through the depths of the water. As the radiant light subsided, Evan emerged, his presence commanding and powerful. Evan turned his gaze towards Michael, their eyes meeting once again. The last time they crossed paths, Evan had feared the overwhelming power of Ghost, but now he stood stronger, filled with the conviction that he could vanquish the Dark Lord he had become. However, the situation became complicated for Evan as he found himself facing the Dark Lord, standing before the very object Salisi had ordered him to protect. This chapter upload first at NWSB C0M. Evan could sense the arrogance emanating from behind the skull mask worn by Ghost. At first, Evan had been reluctant to believe the rumors about Ghost, the stories of his insatiable hunger for power, his manipulative nature, and his cruel actions. But witnessing the devastation brought upon Wuxia and the Guardian Guild, Evan couldn't deny the truth. Thousands of lives had been lost, and the world continued to bear the consequences of Ghost's actions. Seeing the Dark Lord before him, Evan's grip tightened on the trident lodged in Michael's hand, driving it deeper into the unforgiving marble. "You cannot face him alone," Michael calmly stated, his voice laced with an underlying understanding. "Even if I cannot defeat him, I won't strike a deal with the devil," Evan sneered, his determination unwavering. "Better the known devil than the unknown angel," Michael retorted, his words hinting at the complexities of their predicament. The Serpent King roared in frustration, his voice echoing through the depths of the ocean. "I've had enough of your annoying interference, you stupid fool god." He snarled, his serpentine form surging forward to attack Evan. Evan, undeterred by the Serpent King's insults, stood his ground, determination gleaming in his eyes. "You are wasting my time, Serpent King," he retorted with unwavering confidence. As the two clashed, the water around them became turbulent, swirling and churning with their powerful spells. The Serpent King conjured swirling currents that twisted and thrashed, while Evan called upon beams of radiant energy that pierced through the dark waters. The spells took on magnificent forms. Serpents of lightning slithered through the water, crackling with electric energy, while bursts of golden light erupted like celestial explosions. The surrounding ocean itself seemed to respond, with currents shifting and waves crashing against unseen barriers. The combatants exchanged lightning-fast blows, their movements a blur of speed and precision. The Serpent King's massive jaws snapped, aiming to ensnare Evan, while Evan's agile maneuvers evaded the deadly bite. Evan retaliated with divine strikes, his punches empowered by his celestial grace, while the Serpent King thrashed his massive tail, seeking to batter Evan into submission. The clash of their powers and physical blows reverberated through the underwater realm, creating shockwaves that rippled across the ocean floor. Each strike echoed with a display of immense strength and skill, as they fought for dominance in the depths. Amidst the fierce battle, their exchanges were punctuated by snarls and roars, their voices echoing through the watery expanse. The Serpent King taunted Evan, his voice dripping with venom. "You can't defeat me, little god. I am the true ruler of the sea." The Serpent King's hands, awkwardly protruding from his serpentine form, rose into the air. In a mesmerizing display, the crimson-red trident, held firmly in Michael's hand moments ago, was pulled back by an invisible force, leaving Michael free. The trident flew back to the Serpent King, nestling into his grasp. As the trident reunited with its master, a surge of power radiated from the Serpent King, causing the ocean itself to respond to his command. The waters around him stirred and swirled as if acknowledging his authority. With the trident firmly in his hand, he aimed its sharp points directly at Evan. A powerful gust of current, unleashed by the Serpent King's command, surged forward with incredible force. It struck Evan square in the chest before he could even react, the impact sending him reeling backward. The sheer power of the current's impact was overwhelming, leaving Evan momentarily stunned. I think you should take a look at as the battle unfolded deep within the ocean. The Serpent King exerted his control over the watery realm with immense power. He unleashed a barrage of ferocious attacks against Evan, each one more devastating than the last. With a flick of his tail, the Serpent King conjured a massive whirlpool that spiraled toward Evan. The swirling currents threatened to engulf him, pulling him deeper into the depths of the ocean. The Serpent King taunted Evan, his voice dripping with superiority. "Pathetic fool. You should have left when you still had the chance." As Evan struggled to break free from the powerful currents, the Serpent King summoned pillars of water, shooting them upward with incredible force. The water pillars crashed down upon Evan, their impact sending shockwaves through his body. The Serpent King reveled in his dominance, his laughter echoing through the water. "Is this the extent of your power, little god?" Undeterred by the onslaught, Evan mustered his own powers, retaliating with bursts of golden energy. However, the Serpent King's mastery over the ocean allowed him to dodge and deflect Evan's attacks effortlessly. With a flick of his trident, he created a massive wave that surged toward Evan, threatening to engulf him in its crashing force. "I command this very ocean. You, an anomaly, cannot defeat me." The Serpent King continued his assault, conjuring storms of swirling currents, lightning bolts that crackled with electrical energy, and massive tidal waves that threatened to consume Evan. With every attack, he taunted Evan, mocking his feeble attempts to challenge his authority. "You are nothing but an insect before my power. Kneel before me and beg for mercy, for I am a god unmatched in strength and dominion." As the battle raged on, the Serpent King's taunts and relentless attacks aimed to crush Evan's spirit and prove his own superiority as a god who controlled the very forces of the ocean. As the relentless assault from the Serpent King took its toll on Evan, he began to weaken. Blood trickled from his wounds, staining the water around him. Sensing his advantage, the Serpent King moved with lightning speed, his attacks becoming even more rapid and vicious. In a swift motion, the Serpent King closed in on Evan, his scaled grip tightening around him. With a malicious grin, He prepared to deliver a devastating finishing blow, one that would shatter Evan's spirit and seal his defeat. The anticipation hung heavy in the air as the Serpent King readied himself to strike. But before the Serpent King could land the final blow, a forceful impact resonated through the water. Michael, wielding his mighty Doombringer warhammer, had intervened, intercepting the Serpent King's attack. The force of Michael's strike sent the Serpent King hurtling backward, disoriented and momentarily stunned. With a calm and commanding presence, Michael turned his attention to Evan, his voice carrying a sense of purpose. "Evan, listen to me. We have a choice. We can either join forces and bring down the Serpent King together, or we can continue to fight each other while he remains a threat to both of us." Evan, weakened and battered, looked at Michael with a mixture of determination and trust. He understood the gravity of the situation and the importance of unity against their common enemy. Slowly, Evan nodded, his resolve firm. "Let's end this together," Evan said, his voice filled with newfound strength. United in their purpose, Michael and Evan set their sights on the recovering Serpent King, ready to unleash their combined might and forge a path to victory. Evan and Michael moved with synchronized precision, their attacks and spells intertwining seamlessly. Michael swung his Doombringer, summoning icy gusts that formed into swirling frost storms, chilling the water around them. He followed it up with black lightning bolts crackling from his hands, striking the Serpent King with electrifying force. Meanwhile, Evan utilized his celestial powers, channeling beams of radiant light that pierced through the depths, illuminating their battleground. The combination of frost storms and lightning bolts created a powerful synergy. As the Serpent King attempted to dodge the onslaught, he found himself caught in the crossfire, unable to evade every strike. But he proved to be a formidable opponent, retaliating with spells and attacks of his own. He conjured powerful currents, manipulating the ocean to disrupt Evan and Michael's movements. Waves crashed against them, threatening to engulf their efforts. Taunts escaped the Serpent King's lips as he lashed out. "You fools! This is my domain. No one can overcome the might of the ocean and its rightful ruler." His voice echoed through the water, his confidence unyielding. He deftly evaded Michael's dark flames, using his serpentine agility to slither away from the consuming fire. Undeterred, Evan and Michael continued their onslaught. Evan channeled his celestial energy into radiant beams, guiding them with precision to strike the Serpent King's vulnerable spots. Michael, with eyes gleaming with darkness, unleashed dark beams from his gaze, seeking to pierce through the Serpent King's defenses. However, the Serpent King's control over the ocean remained a formidable challenge. He summoned colossal tidal waves, threatening to engulf Evan and Michael. Their movements were hindered, their attacks disrupted by the sheer force of the water. Yet, even in the face of adversity, they refused to yield. As the fierce battle raged on, a sudden shock and surprise coursed through Michael's veins as he witnessed the eel he had freed earlier join the fight against the Serpent King. His eyes widened with astonishment, realizing the unexpected ally that had come to his aid. The eel crackled with electric energy, its body emanating lightning bolts that surrounded the Serpent King, forming a cage of electricity. The Serpent King roared in frustration as the crackling bolts prevented him from maneuvering freely. With the Serpent King momentarily trapped, Evan seized the opportunity, unleashing beams of golden energy upon the weakened Serpent King. Each beam struck with precision, lashing out with a radiant force. At the same time, Michael released a relentless stream of dark flames, their infernal heat engulfing the Serpent King's form. With each strike, Evan and Michael roared in unison, their determination fueling their attacks. The battle reached its climax as the Serpent King found himself on the brink of defeat. A devilish grin crossed Michael's face as he observed the Serpent King's weakening state. In his mind, a sinister plan took shape, a way to secure his own victory. Though the Serpent King was dying, Michael knew he had an opportunity to exploit the situation, to gain an advantage that would secure their triumph. The Serpent King, racked with pain and seething with rage, cursed the eel that had betrayed him. "Traitor! I will ensure your suffering knows no bounds for this treachery." He spat, his voice filled with venomous hatred. Evan, a tinge of regret in his voice, responded to the Serpent King's curses. I never wanted to hurt you, but you've left me with no choice. As the intense heat from Evan's attack and Michael's dark flames consumed the Serpent King's physical form, it melted away, dissolving into nothingness. The air grew still, the weight of the battle settling upon their weary shoulders. Evan and Michael both breathed heavily, their chests rising and falling as they took in the aftermath of their victorious struggle. Evan's gaze shifted between Michael and the cube-shaped structure that lay before them, its secrets beckoning. A devious grin played across his face as he reached into his belongings and pulled out a set of golden ropes. With a swift motion, he threw the ropes around Michael, expertly coiling him within their shimmering embrace. A smirk etched upon Evan's lips as he declared, "Our temporary alliance against the Serpent King is terminated, my dear Dark Lord." His tone carried a subtle hint of amusement, a snicker betraying his mischievous intentions. Evan's eyes gleamed with a mix of amusement and cunning as he tightened the golden ropes around Michael, ensuring his immobilization. The Dark Lord, though bound, maintained a composed demeanor, his eyes fixed upon Evan. With a slight chuckle, Evan continued, his voice dripping with slyness, "You know, it's not necessarily a bad thing to stab the Dark Lord in the back. In fact, I'm quite sure you would have done the same to me if I hadn't beaten you to it." He tilted his head, a glimmer of mischief dancing in his gaze. Chapter 10:20, New Skill and New Spell. As Evan moved closer to the submerged structure, Michael floated helplessly in the ocean, bound by the golden ropes that encircled him. He locked eyes with the eel, their silent connection speaking volumes. Understanding Michael's unspoken command, the eel swam away, disappearing into the depths of the ocean, seeking safety. Meanwhile, Evan's clenched fist radiated with a golden glow as he summoned his power. With unwavering determination, he unleashed a powerful punch, striking the cubic structure. The cracks that already marred its surface widened and multiplied with each forceful blow. Evan's relentless assault continued until the structure shattered completely, revealing its hidden contents. To their astonishment, an ancient-looking scroll awaited them within the shattered remains of the structure. It was encased in an ethereal air bubble, surrounded by a mysterious dark mist. The mere sight of it signaled to Michael that it was indeed a seed of darkness, a powerful artifact of untold potential. However, before Evan could reach out to touch the spell scroll, Michael's voice cut through the air, stopping him in his tracks. Evan turned to face Michael, his curiosity piqued by his unexpected interruption. "Not so fast, Evan." Michael's voice carried a mischievous undertone as a beam of light emanated from the skull on his chest. The beam formed an image of Victoria, Evan's fiancée. The sight struck Evan like a bolt of lightning, freezing him in place. His eyes widened with shock as he beheld the distressing scene before him. Victoria, bound to a chair, bore the marks of a fierce struggle. Her golden hair was disheveled, and her once pristine white armor was stained with blood. Bruises marred her delicate features, a testament to the battle she had endured. Behind her lay the lifeless bodies of several guards, their broken forms strewn across the marble floor. Evan's heart raced with a mix of fear, anger, and concern for his beloved. The image etched into his mind, driving him to a moment of agonizing indecision. His desire to obtain the seed of darkness clashed with his overwhelming need to protect Victoria. As the gravity of the situation sank in, a tense silence enveloped the ocean depths, the weight of their choices hanging heavy in the water. Evan's anguished cry reverberated through the water as he locked eyes with his gagged and restrained fiancée, Victoria. The sight of her, bound and helpless, fueled his rage, causing him to lash out impulsively at Michael, seeking vengeance. "What have you done?" Evan's voice echoed with a mix of desperation and fury, the ripples in the water mirroring his tumultuous emotions. But just as Evan lunged towards Michael, a woman's voice cut through the tense atmosphere, halting his advance. Gaia, the Dark Queen, emerged into view, her presence commanding and sinister. With a dagger dripping with blood, she stood behind Victoria, issuing a chilling ultimatum. "I wouldn't do that if I were you, Evan." Gaia's words carried a deadly warning, her gaze fixed on Evan. She demanded the release of Michael, threatening to slit Victoria's throat if her demands were not met. Reluctantly, Evan shifted his attention from Michael to the dire situation unfolding before him. The weight of the decision bore heavily upon him as he reached out to remove the golden ropes binding Michael. As his hand grasped the ropes, they loosened, freeing the Dark Lord. "They'll take this." In a twist of fate, Michael took hold of the golden ropes, his sly grin betraying his amusement at the turn of events. "Just because you're stronger than me doesn't mean you can defeat me, Evan. They call me the Dark Lord for a reason," Michael taunted, his words laced with a hint of arrogance as he lightly tapped Evan's cheek, a taunting gesture of superiority. Unbeknownst to Evan, in the moment of their encounter, Michael had secretly communicated with Gaia. He had instructed her to infiltrate Evan's house in Bredia and take his family hostage, using them as leverage to manipulate Evan. However, Michael had not anticipated that Victoria would be present at the house. While Evan's parents made for suitable hostages, Victoria, his beloved fiancée, proved to be an even more enticing pawn in his sinister game. As Michael approached the spell scroll, his curiosity piqued. He turned his attention back to Evan, his voice laced with a hint of suspicion. "Who do you work for, Evan?" Michael's inquiry hung in the air, his gaze penetrating as he studied Evan's reaction. Evan's heart raced, his mind torn between protecting Victoria and confronting Michael. He met Michael's gaze with a resolute expression, firm in his response. "No one," Evan replied, his voice strained with emotion. But Gaia, reveling in her sadistic control, interjected with a chilling snicker, her grip on Victoria tightening. The dagger pressed against Victoria's throat, drawing a thin trickle of blood, a cruel reminder of the imminent danger. "Don't play games with the life of your beloved, Evan," Gaia taunted, her voice dripping with amusement. Evan's heart skipped a beat as he witnessed the crimson trail staining Victoria's skin. "Let her go. She had done nothing to you." Fury surged within Evan as he pleaded for Victoria's release, his voice trembling with desperation and rage. But Gaia, displaying her deranged nature, merely snickered and playfully pouted, displaying her utter disregard for Victoria's life. "Evan, my dear, I have killed my own father and crippled my own sister. Do you think I give a flying fuck about this bitch?" Gaia's words struck Evan like a dagger to the heart, leaving him paralyzed with anguish and helplessness. Evan's gaze darted between Gaia, Victoria, and Michael, his mind racing for a solution. He longed to stop Michael's actions, but Gaia yanked Victoria's hair back, exposing her vulnerable neck, and reminded Evan of the knife poised against her throat. This terrifying threat silenced his desperate intentions. With determination in his eyes, Michael unleashed a powerful punch, striking the air bubble that surrounded the spell scroll. The bubble shattered, dissipating into thin air, as Michael swiftly grabbed hold of the ancient scroll. A dark mist, tinged with an otherworldly aura, emanated from the scroll and slowly coiled around Michael's hand, its tendrils intertwining with his very being. As the dark mist seeped into Michael's body, a surge of energy coursed through his veins. Veins protruded from his skin beneath the armor, pulsating with an ethereal glow. The power within him intensified, radiating with an intensity that Evan couldn't ignore. Evan's gaze fixated on Michael, his senses heightened as he observed the sudden rise in Michael's energy radiation. The aura surrounding Michael became more ominous, shrouding him in an aura of darkness and power. Congratulations to the host for acquiring another seed of darkness. The host now acquired 3 seeds of darkness. The experience points harvester function is online. The host will receive experience points for killing from now on. Once the host reaches the celestial stage, the system will come online permanently. The host can now absorb powerful artifacts and turn their energy into experience points. Rare and more powerful artifacts will give the host more experience points. This chapter. Upload first at NWSB, C0M. Michael's vision became hazy as the system notifications flooded his awareness. A surge of joy swept over him as he realized he was getting closer to permanently awakening the system. Amidst the flurry of notifications, he couldn't contain his excitement upon discovering that he could absorb artifacts and gain experience points once again. Lost in the sea of notifications, a particular message caught his attention. Congratulations for acquiring the Seed of Darkness, Shadow Teleportation. Michael's astonishment echoed in his mind. He was well aware that each Seed of Darkness possessed unique properties, granting him distinct powers and advantages. His armor, for instance, was a Seed of Darkness that provided him with formidable protection. Now, the spell scroll had bestowed upon him a new ability, the wondrous gift of Shadow Teleportation. The Shadow Teleportation is a powerful spell that grants the user the ability to instantaneously transport himself to any location within his line of sight where a shadow is present. By harnessing the connection between shadows and travel, the host can seamlessly navigate through space, utilizing shadows as gateways to move from one point to another effortlessly. Curious about his newfound ability to absorb energy from artifacts, Michael reached out for the golden ropes that had bound him moments ago. Closing his eyes, he focused his concentration on the ropes, feeling the surge of energy coursing through them. A soft hum resonated in his senses as he experienced a slight resistance from the ropes. Slowly but steadily, the golden strands transformed into tiny specks of dust, drifting into Michael's being, converting into valuable experience points. Absorbing legendary level ropes of halving. Absorbing energy. Converting the grace energy into experience points. Experience points converted 300,000. Experience points converted 700,000. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is half celestial stage level 4. Host, Michael cultivation level, half celestial level 4 godhood, fledgling god, have 3 seeds of darkness. Need 2 seeds for the upgrade to level 2 godhood, demigod. Experience points. 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 / 12, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 badass points, 75 million skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL 6 Ultimate Form Level 1 Eyes of Doom, LVL 5 Ultimate Form Level 1 Responsive Shield, LVL 8 Environment Scanning. LVL 8, I think you should take a look at Ignitia, LVL 8 Ultimate Form Level 1 Silenes, LVL 1 Meteor, LVL 1 Lightning Dash, LVL 6 Ultimate Form Level 1 Energy Devour, LVL 5 Soul Eater, LVL 5 Soul Stare, LVL 4 Death Range, LVL 3 Shadow Teleportation Eyes of Darkness, Normal. Can sense the cultivation level of others' Eyes of Darkness, Lucifer. Can sense the cultivation level of others, can see through illusions Cloud of Darkness, Lucifer. Weak-willed enemies will lose their courage completely and surrender. Death range will be 50% more powerful, and if activated in darkness, the host's cultivation level will be boosted 4 levels up regardless of the stage barrier. Wordless Spellcaster, Lucifer. In full Lucifer form, the host just has to think of the spell to cast it. Techniques: Swords of Destiny, 98% Mastery Ring of Fire, 96% Mastery Serpent Maga, 98% Mastery Occupation. The Guardian of Sunrise Sect, the Dark Lord, the God of Darkness status. Healthy goals: Control the world, grow the Order of Death. Utility function: Banker, LVL 5. Ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 40 badass points. Runic Teleportation, X-ray Vision, also integrated with Eyes of Darkness. Wealth, 25 million gold. Special trait: 6-star Alchemist, 5-star Blacksmith, 5-star Inventor. Subordinates: Gaia, Warrior. Loyalty level 100%, Raylene, 5-star Chef, loyalty level 99%, Arya, Queen of Shadows, Assassin, loyalty level 92%, Adelia Wraith, loyalty level 94%, Maxine, Queen of Power. Warrior, loyalty level 98%, Tiberius, King of War, Warrior, loyalty level 85%, Sadie, Queen of Whispers, loyalty level 70%, Ricky, loyalty level 95%, Titus and Optimus, Kings of Supplies, loyalty level 80%, Gibson, King of the Skies, loyalty level 90%, Corey, Queen of the Seas, loyalty level 90%, The Silent Reaper Crew, Pirates, loyalty level 93%, Saber, King of the Nightwalkers, loyalty 82%, Trista Lenora, Base of Operation, The Abyssal, The Crypt, The Dark Ocean Familiars, Nightmare, Royal Dragon. Dead, Vidora, 3-headed Hydra, Elemental Manipulation, Wind, 40% Mastery, fire, 40% mastery, lightning, 50% mastery, darkness, 50% mastery. Michael surveyed his updated system status with a sense of satisfaction. With the restoration of his ability to gain experience points through taking lives and absorbing artifacts, he knew there was much work ahead of him. Taking a deep breath, he exited the system and directed his attention back to Evan, who had witnessed the disappearance of the spell scroll, unaware of its true power. Let me ask you one more time, Evan. Who do you work for? You are a follower, not a leader. So who do you follow? In a cold and commanding tone, Michael addressed Evan, demanding to know the truth behind his allegiances. Lie to us one more time, and I will end her life. The threat of ending Victoria's life loomed in the air, voiced by Gaia with deadly authority. Evan, torn between his loyalty to Celici and his love for Victoria, made a difficult choice. Realizing that lying would jeopardize Victoria's safety, he confessed the truth to Michael. It's Celici, the former queen of Nagaland, Evan revealed. Finally, the veil of secrecy surrounding Michael's shadowy adversary began to lift. Chapter 1021. Turning Sea Realm against Celici. Upon learning that Celici was working against him in the shadows, Michael's suspicions were confirmed. He had always suspected that Celici held more secrets than she let on. Even when he had attacked Nagaland, her kingdom, and Gaia had inflicted harm upon her family, Celici had remained elusive. This absence hinted at a deeper purpose behind Celicis' actions. Now that Michael knew for certain that Celici was plotting against him and that Evan was working for her, he saw an opportunity to manipulate Evan to his advantage. Killing Evan would be futile, as he was a god who could only be truly slain with a specialized weapon. Instead, Michael decided to use Evan as his spy, a valuable asset in his quest for dominance. With his plan forming in his mind, Michael turned his gaze towards Gaia, issuing a command. "Deliver my gift to Victoria," he instructed Gaia, sending a shiver through Evan's heart. "Stop!" Evan's desperate shout echoed through the space as he lunged at Michael. With a sneer, Michael swiftly evaded Evan's attack using his lightning dash spell. Following Michael's order, Gaia retrieved a vial of blood tonic from her storage ring. She removed the gag from Victoria's mouth and forced the potion down her throat. Evan's anguish filled the air as he witnessed Victoria coughing, unable to speak a word before Gaia silenced her once more. Eyes gleaming with a devilish grin, Michael delivered a cold ultimatum to Evan. Evan seethed with anger as he approached Michael, his movements slow and deliberate. Michael remained floating in the water, showing no intention of evading Evan's wrath. As Evan drew nearer, he grasped the collar of Michael's armor and shook him forcefully. "Your blackened soul knows no mercy, ghost. You will suffer in the depths of hell," Evan cursed, compelled to help Victoria despite his anger. Michael's response was a calm and sinister snicker. "I have already been to hell, Evan. Now, tell me everything you know about Celici and her little plan to defeat me," Michael spoke, his voice steady. He gently removed Evan's hand from his collar, asserting his dominance. As Evan massaged his hand and reluctantly swallowed his saliva, Michael placed a hand on Evan's shoulder. "Don't make me threaten you again and again every time I ask you a question, Evan. My beautiful wife." Michael gestured towards Gaia, continuing his words. "Isn't very good at being patient. She will kill Victoria, and I'll be your fault," Michael calmly stated, his voice carrying a sense of warning. This chapter upload first at Audiobook. C0M. Just as Evan was about to reveal Celicis' plans, a sudden burst of golden light enveloped him, teleporting him away from Michael in an instant. Gaia, witnessing the unexpected turn of events, turned to Michael with surprise, seeking an explanation. Michael, however, had anticipated this move, knowing that Celici would have contingency plans in place to protect her subordinates from divulging sensitive information. Unbeknownst to him, Celici had intended to teleport Evan earlier, but the rune placed upon him had failed to activate. Otherwise, Evan would have been teleported away even before confessing his allegiance to Celici. "Now that Celici has made her move, it is time for me to make mine," Michael calmly stated, his mind already racing with plans. "What should we do about her?" Concerning Victoria's fate, Gaia inquired, her dagger tracing along Victoria's face with a twisted sense of sadistic delight. "Leave her alone but clean out their treasury," Michael ordered, confident that Gaia had already taken care of this task. With Victoria under the influence of the blood tonic, Michael held the power to end her life with a mere snap of his finger. Evan was well aware of this, and he would obey Michael's every command. Michael anticipated that Celici, being the mastermind he believed her to be, would try to intervene and prevent Evan from falling into his grasp. However, Michael had prepared for every possible scenario, devising cunning plans to outmaneuver Celici at every turn. As he had stated, it was now his turn to take action, and Celici would soon discover the extent of his strategic prowess. "I did that already," Gaia playfully chuckled, revealing her sinister nature that aligned perfectly with Michael's own. "And human, meet me at our designated meeting spot soon. We need to locate our missing subordinates," Gaia instructed, receiving a nod of agreement from Michael. Upon his return from Aitnes, Michael had contacted Gaia, only to discover that one of the 3 portals set up at the wedding had been tampered with. Those who had used this specific portal were teleported elsewhere, away from the Dark Castle. In other words, someone had kidnapped some of Michael's subordinates. Fortunately, Raylene and little Cindy remained safe in the Dark Forest. As much as Michael desired to reunite with Gaia and locate his subordinates, he knew that reaching the celestial stage was crucial. Only then would he ascend to the next level of godhood and be able to bring back the system online permanently. With Gaia and Victoria vanishing from his sight, Michael's gaze turned determined. He knew exactly where to go next, the Sea Serpent Hall. It was time to unleash his wrath and claim their powerful artifacts. Every artifact he consumed would grant him experience points, bringing him closer to achieving his ultimate power. As he swam through the depths of the ocean, Michael's mind was consumed by thoughts of domination. He envisioned himself confronting the soldiers of the Sea Serpent Hall, each one standing in his way. His dark grin revealed his thirst for power as he plotted their demise. One by one, he would strike them down, absorbing their souls and turning them into experience points. He would relish in the surge of energy that would flow through him with each kill, fueling his ascent to godhood. No one would be spared, for in Michael's path, there was only destruction and a relentless pursuit of power. I think you should take a look at despite his ruthless determination, Michael was not driven by mindless bloodlust. He possessed a sense of pragmatism and offered an alternative to the soldiers of the Sea Serpent Hall. He would give them a chance to escape, sparing their lives, but only if they chose not to stand in his way. As he made his way through the city toward the Serpent King's castle, the streets were filled with chaos. The city was being evacuated, and the presence of armed soldiers patrolling the area added to the tension. Confused citizens approached the soldiers, seeking answers amidst the growing uncertainty. "Why are we being forced to leave the city? What is happening?" A concerned citizen inquired. "Where is the Serpent King? Is this related to the battle with the human earlier?" Another citizen questioned, unaware of Evan's true identity. The soldiers focused on their mission, responded with stern commands, ordering the citizens to keep quiet and follow their orders. "Stay silent and obey. It's for your own safety," a soldier barked in response. The citizens, though perplexed and anxious, had no choice but to comply. They continued to be escorted out of the city, their questions left unanswered. As Michael calmly flew towards the castle, the soldiers of the Sea Serpent Hall quickly took notice of his presence. They formed a defensive circle around him, their faces contorted with a mix of shock and disbelief. The aura of power radiating from Michael, reaching the half-celestial stage, left them stunned and awestruck. With a mere thought, Michael willed his armor to remove the skull mask that concealed his face. The mask effortlessly moved into the armor, disappearing from sight, revealing Michael's face, a face that sent shivers down the spines of those who recognized him. Some of the soldiers gasped, their eyes widening as they realized they were in the presence of the infamous Dark Lord. Memories of his past power and brutality resurfaced, causing a ripple of fear to spread among the ranks. The soldiers hesitated, their instincts urging them to reconsider their confrontation with this formidable adversary. Surrounded by the soldiers, both in the air and on the ground, Michael maintained his floating position with an air of dominance. Among the sea of guards, a tall and bulky merman soldier clad in crimson-red armor and fiery red hair stepped forward, his voice tinged with a hint of fear and shivering. "Why has the Dark Lord come here?" the merman soldier questioned, struggling to maintain composure in the face of Michael's imposing presence. "Take me to your elders." Michael's voice resonated with an air of calm authority. "Your Serpent King has been killed by one of Queen Sales's subordinates. I have no desire to cause further harm, unless you stand in my way and attempt to impede my meeting with your elders." The soldiers and their red-haired general exchanged wary glances. Despite their own power and numerical advantage, they understood that they were no match for the might of the Dark Lord. The soldiers huddled together, their voices hushed yet filled with fervent discussion. Whispers echoed among them as they debated the Dark Lord's offer. "Are you brain-dead? Who in their right mind would willingly fight the Dark Lord?" One soldier scoffed, rolling his eyes. "We're not the main characters or villains in some epic novel. No need to die for the elders." "Exactly," another soldier chimed in. "We have a duty to protect the castle, but that doesn't mean we have a death wish. Let's be practical here." A sly grin spread across another soldier's face. "You know, I heard about those fools from the Guardian Guild who thought they could stand in the Dark Lord's way. Ended up dead for no good reason. Not the brightest bunch, huh?" Amidst the murmurs, the soldiers came to a unanimous decision. They would follow the Dark Lord's offer, opting for survival rather than a futile battle. In the end, their practicality won over. With a collective nod, they turned to their red-haired general and relayed their decision. It was clear that fighting the Dark Lord would only lead to their demise. They would follow his lead, ensuring their own survival while leaving the fate of the elders to the whims of the powerful being before them. "The elders will meet you in the throne hall," the red-haired general informed Michael. Taking a moment to assess the situation, Michael surveyed the city, his eyes meeting the gaze of the general. "There is no need for panic among the citizens. I am not here to bring destruction. Since you all have chosen to stand down, I see no reason to take any lives," Michael assured, his decision surprising even himself. Despite Michael's inclination to kill and convert soldiers into experience points, he refrained from doing so with the Sea Serpent Hall soldiers, who chose not to fight. Their unexpected display of rationality surprised him. Typically, soldiers and cultivators acted on impulse rather than making practical decisions. However, the Sea Serpent Hall soldiers demonstrated a level of intelligence and discernment that Michael hadn't anticipated. It intrigued him to see individuals capable of assessing the situation and making a wise choice. Fortunately, Michael had a new way to gain experience points by absorbing artifacts. With this in mind, he planned to strike a deal with the elders and acquire some of their most powerful artifacts. Additionally, he saw an opportunity to pit Salisi against the Sea Realm, shifting the blame for the Serpent King's demise onto Evan. Michael knew that the Serpent King's soul would seek another vessel and return, but he intended to forge a god-killing weapon in the meantime. His ultimate goal was to eliminate the Serpent King before the truth was revealed permanently. The pieces were falling into place, and Michael's schemes were taking shape. As he prepared to meet the elders, he couldn't help but feel a surge of anticipation. The city of Sea Serpent Hall would soon witness the extent of his power and cunning. Chapter 1022, Reaching Half-Celestial Stage Level 7I. Led by the crimson-haired merman general, Michael entered the castle through its grand entrance. Inside, chaos reigned as maids and soldiers scurried about in a state of panic, their movements resembling headless chickens. As their eyes fell upon their general accompanying the infamous Dark Lord, some froze in their tracks. Whispers spread among the maids, servants, and soldiers, as those who did not recognize Michael sought answers from those who did. "Who is that man?" one maid asked with wide eyes, her voice quivering. "That's the Dark Lord," another maid stuttered, fear evident in her voice. I've seen him before." Some people in the vicinity sensed the immense power emanating from Michael, his half-celestial stage cultivation leaving them in awe and shock. The hushed conversations continued, filled with curiosity and uncertainty. "What is the general doing, escorting the Dark Lord into the castle?" A soldier wondered aloud, his voice tinged with confusion. I don't know, but it can't be good, another soldier replied, his voice filled with trepidation. We should stay out of their way and let the elders handle this. Amidst the commotion, the presence of the Dark Lord within the castle walls had sent shivers down their spines, leaving the maids, servants, and soldiers questioning the implications of his presence and the intentions behind their general's actions. The grand throne hall stretched before Michael, its vastness emphasized by the high ceilings and elaborate decorations adorning the walls. The throne, positioned on an elevated platform accessed by a grand staircase, stood as the focal point of the room. It was an imposing sight, intricately carved and adorned with symbols that represented the power and authority of the Serpent King. As Michael entered the hall, he observed the elders gathered on the marble floor, engaged in a heated discussion. They were aged men and women, their faces marked with the wisdom and experience of many years. Some had long white beards, while others had deep lines etched on their foreheads. They wore ceremonial robes, signifying their esteemed positions within the Sea Serpent Hall. Have any of you seen the Serpent King? Where could he have gone? One elder inquired, his brow furrowed with worry. This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0 Moan Elder, with a voice filled with concern, addressed the rest of the group. We have found the bodies of several soldiers within the Serpent King's chambers. They were slain, and their deaths remain a mystery. This is a grave matter that requires our immediate attention. Another elder, their voice tinged with confusion, responded, But how could this happen? The Serpent King's room is heavily guarded, and the security is tight. Who could have breached our defenses and carried out such an act? The elders exchanged worried glances, searching for answers to the puzzling situation. Little did they know that it was Michael who had infiltrated the Serpent King's chambers and eliminated the soldiers as part of his own plans. We must investigate this matter thoroughly, another elder suggested, their voice tinged with determination. We cannot afford any breaches in our security, especially during these uncertain times. As the conversation carried on, the elders suddenly fell silent, their eyes widening and their actions freezing in place. Michael had entered the throne hall, accompanied by the red-haired general. Fear and shock rippled through the elders' expressions as they laid their eyes upon the infamous Dark Lord. A hushed whisper escaped one elder's lips as he trembled, "It's the Dark Lord." Another elder, a woman with a stern gaze and silver hair, clasped her hands tightly together, unable to hide her unease. The elders exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what this unexpected visit from the Dark Lord would bring. Their initial discussion forgotten, the elders now found themselves face to face with the embodiment of their deepest fears. The grandeur of the throne hall paled in comparison to the aura of power and darkness that emanated from Michael. Killian, what the hell have you done? You betrayed us. Elder Mercia, the silver-haired elder, stammered with a mix of shock and accusation, mistakenly believing that Killian had betrayed them and led the Dark Lord to their presence. Elder Mercia, please understand that I did not betray us, Killian defended himself, his voice filled with urgency. He knew the seriousness of the situation and the elder's mistrust was a blow to his loyalty. I think you should take a look at, Killian continued, his eyes searching for understanding among the elders. The Dark Lord requested a meeting with all of you. In exchange, he promised that no more blood would be spilled in our city. Elder Mercia, with her silver hair shimmering under the light, stuttered in disbelief, her voice filled with shock. Killian, how could you trust the Dark Lord? Have you forgotten the atrocities he has committed? Killian held his ground, his voice firm and determined. Elders, I bring grave news, conveyed to me by the Dark Lord himself. He clenched his fist, preparing to deliver the news of the Serpent King's demise. Standing beside Killian, Michael remained silent, allowing Killian to be the messenger of the Dark Lord's words. Michael intentionally withheld the information that merely destroying the vessel would not be enough to kill a god like the Serpent King truly. The truth was that specific god-killing weapons were required, weapons that even Michael did not possess. The Dark Lord claims that Serpent King was slain by Evan, a subordinate of Queen Celici of Nagaland, Killian announced, causing the elders to gasp in disbelief. While some found it difficult to fathom, given the recent claims of the Serpent King attaining godhood, others began to question the invincibility of their king. "It cannot be true," one elder murmured, their voice tinged with doubt. "Our Serpent King said he had become a god, invincible and everlasting." "It is true. I witnessed their battle in Windows Down. Evan, a fallen god himself, fought your king and emerged victorious," Michael affirmed, his words shocking the elders even further. He intentionally withheld the fact that merely destroying the physical vessel of a fallen god would not truly vanquish them. It required specialized weapons, like the god-killing arrows forged by Xianxia and her friends, to sever the soul of a god and prevent their return. The atmosphere in the throne hall grew tense as the elders tried to process this unsettling information. The implications of their king's demise at the hands of another god created a sense of uncertainty and vulnerability. They had relied on the Serpent King's power and authority for so long, believing him to be unstoppable. Now, faced with the truth, they had to confront the harsh reality that their kingdom stood exposed to new threats. "I cannot fathom this. Our mighty Serpent King, defeated by someone named Evan? We have never even heard of this Evan before." "Our Serpent King is not this fallen god but a true god," spoke a white-bearded elder, his knowledge of gods limited. In truth, none of the elders possessed a deep understanding of the gods and their classifications. The elder believed that the term fallen denoted weakness, unaware of its true meaning in the realm of gods. In the realm of gods, fallen gods referred to those who had their graces stripped away by the previous Dark Lord or rebelled against the pantheon, or were trapped in the mortal realm. In essence, they were gods who could no longer access the realm of gods. However, the elders mistakenly interpreted the term as a sign of weakness. Evan, who had been infused with grace through a contraption by Celici, fell into this category as a fallen god. Stuck in the mortal realm, he was unable to return to the realm of gods. Similarly, Dagon, the ruler of Hell, was also a fallen god for rebelling against the pantheon and being banished. However, Michael and Noah were not fallen gods. They were born as gods in the mortal realm. However, in a previous timeline, Noah had his divine grace stripped away by the previous Dark Lord and locked away, only to have it later when Dagon released the graces. It was essential to clarify these distinctions, as the term fallen god carried different implications depending on one's understanding. The elders' limited knowledge made it difficult for them to grasp the complexities of godhood and the significance of Evan's actions. "Believe it or don't believe it. I don't care. The Serpent King made a deal with me to give you all his last words in exchange for half of the powerful artifacts and a quarter of your wealth," calmly stated Michael, leaving the elders in a state of profound shock. Despite having the power to seize the treasury and eliminate the elders, Michael refrained from doing so. He desired a realm where order and stability reigned. If he were to dismantle major powers like the Serpent Hall, it would create a void that numerous factions would scramble to fill. This would inevitably lead to widespread chaos and instability. Michael understood the importance of maintaining a balance of power. By sparing the elders and preserving their authority, he aimed to prevent the rise of countless smaller factions vying for control. This strategic approach would help maintain order and prevent the realm from descending into anarchy. While he could have easily taken what he desired by force, Michael recognized the long-term consequences of such actions. He sought a realm where power was distributed more evenly, ensuring a more stable and controlled environment. Besides, Michael had a grander plan in mind, envisioning a peaceful retirement on a private island alongside Gaia, their children, and their closest friends and family. He aimed for a world where Nithroel would govern, allowing Michael to enjoy a life of tranquility. He understood that chaos and wars raging beyond his private island would disrupt his desired peace. Furthermore, as he ventured into the realm of gods, he anticipated his subordinates fighting against Saelsis forces in the mortal realm. He realized that he may not be able to travel freely between realms, as he would be embroiled in a greater war with the gods. Therefore, he deemed it crucial to retain powerful allies, such as the Sea Serpent Hall. It was this rationale that led Michael to abstain from completely depleting their treasury or exterminating them all. Chapter 1023. reaching half celestial stage level 7-2. What do you mean, half of our artifacts and a quarter of our wealth? Dark Lord, we may be weak compared to you, but we are no fools, voiced one of the elders, expressing their skepticism towards Michael's proposition. Remaining composed, Michael calmly advanced towards them, his hand tucked behind his back. The elders couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, their tension escalating in the presence of the Dark Lord's disconcerting smile. In response to the elder's question, Michael paused and then spoke, his words laced with calculated deceit. The last words of your Serpent King were he wanted all of you to wait for the right moment to avenge him. His exact words were, tell those idiots to use their brains and wait for the right moment to strike, like I would have done, say these words to my elders and receive your rewards. If they don't believe you, you can always kill them all and clean out my treasury, there won't be anyone to stop you. So it's up to my elders to preserve my legacy by honoring my words and avenging me. Michael boldly lied, reaching the steps leading to the Serpent King's throne. With an air of nonchalance, Michael leisurely sat on the stairs, his gaze fixed upon the contemplating elders. They were left pondering the validity of the Dark Lord's claim regarding their deceased king's final wishes. Now, consider this carefully. You can either uphold your king's legacy and grant me the rewards he agreed upon, or you can choose not to believe me, leading me to clean out your treasury without any opposition. It's clear to all that you are powerless against me, Michael calmly declared, directing his attention to the elder who had previously proclaimed their intelligence. You claim to be no fools, so I urge you to make the wise choice. Keep half of the artifacts and the remaining wealth to seek revenge against Xianxia and Evan, who work for her, and avenge your fallen king, he concluded, leaving the elders to contemplate the difficult decision before them. The elders huddled together, their voices hushed as they engaged in a heated discussion regarding the matter at hand. Some expressed reluctance to believe that their mighty Serpent King had truly met his demise, doubting the authenticity of the words attributed to him by the Dark Lord. I find it hard to believe that our revered Serpent King is no more, murmured one elder, his brows furrowed with skepticism. Are we to trust the words of this Dark Lord? Even if the Dark Lord's words are false, we have no means to oppose him. It may be in our best interest to accept his terms, for losing only half of our artifacts and a quarter of our wealth is a lesser sacrifice compared to losing everything, an elder reasoned, revealing a sense of pragmatism. Another elder chimed in, his voice tinged with wisdom. We must consider the broader picture. Xianxia and Evan, who serve her, pose a threat to our realm. Honoring the Serpent King's alleged last words by preserving half of our artifacts and retaining a portion of our wealth may indeed provide us with the means to seek revenge against them. In the midst of their deliberation, emotions ranging from skepticism to resignation and a desire for self-preservation were evident on the faces of the elders. They weighed the risks and benefits, acknowledging the overwhelming power of the Dark Lord and the futility of resistance. Ultimately, a collective decision began to take shape as they reluctantly accepted the reality of their situation and the necessity of making a deal with the Dark Lord. With heavy hearts and a hint of resignation, the elders prepared to honor their fallen king's supposed last words and fulfill the Dark Lord's demands, albeit with a sense of caution and a lingering doubt in their minds. The elders reached a consensus, their voices uniting as they presented their conditions to the Dark Lord. The air was heavy with a mixture of apprehension and determination. We agree to your terms, Dark Lord, one of the elders spoke with a resolute tone. But in return, you must promise to aid us in seeking revenge against Xianxia and Evan when the time comes. This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0 Ma smug smile played across Michael's lips as he heard their request. His plan was unfolding just as he had envisioned, manipulating the elders to serve his ultimate agenda. I agree, Michael responded, his voice laced with feigned sincerity. Rest assured, when the time comes, I will help you exact your vengeance. The elders, feeling a glimmer of hope in their hearts, thanked the Dark Lord for his willingness to support their cause. Very well, one of the elders said, bowing respectfully. Please wait here while we gather the artifacts and wealth you require. Michael's eyes gleamed with a hint of caution as he issued a warning to the departing elders. Remember, if you attempt to deceive me or withhold what is rightfully owed, the consequences will be dire. I trust you understand the gravity of your words." The elders, now filled with a mixture of fear and determination, assured Michael of their sincerity. With a final nod, they disappeared from his sight, leaving him to await their return. As Michael stood in the grand throne hall, a sense of satisfaction washed over him. His plan was progressing flawlessly, and he relished the control he had exerted over the elders. With patience and cunning, he knew he could exploit this alliance to further his own ambitions. As Michael sat leisurely on the steps, swinging his legs back and forth, the sound of approaching footsteps caught his attention. The elders returned, led by Elder Mercia, who approached Michael with a sense of trepidation. In her outstretched hand, she held a silver space ring. "Dark Lord, here is the ring containing what you have requested," Elder Mercia said, her voice laced with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Michael accepted the silver ring, his fingers delicately encircling it. With a simple touch, the ring responded, revealing its hidden contents. A smile spread across Michael's face as he accessed the space ring's contents, his eyes lighting up with delight. Within the ring, he discovered a vast collection of almost 1 billion gold coins, gleaming brightly in the mental image. Alongside the coins were an array of 30 powerful artifacts, their energy radiating palpably within the confines of the space ring. "I think you should take a look at—" "Thank you, Elder Mercia," Michael said, his voice oozing with a veneer of gratitude. "You have fulfilled your end of the bargain." Elder Mercia nodded, her expression a mix of relief and uncertainty. "We have kept our word, Dark Lord. May we trust that you will honor our agreement?" Michael's smile widened, a gleam of mischief glinting in his eyes. "Fear not, Elder Mercia. I always keep my promises." With that, Michael's figure began to fade, slowly vanishing into thin air. They watched in awe and disbelief as the Dark Lord disappeared, their minds filled with a mix of uncertainty and resignation. They had made their pact with the devil, but now they were left to face the consequences of their choices. Elder Mercia exhaled deeply, her voice barely a whisper. "May the gods be with us, for we have made a deal with the devil." In the depths of the ocean, far removed from the bustling city of Sea Serpent Hall, Michael materialized amidst the encompassing darkness. The water around him seemed lifeless, devoid of any signs of marine existence. Undeterred by the immense pressure of the deep sea, he settled himself on the ocean floor. With a simple gesture, Michael accessed the space ring once again. A faint, golden glow emanated from within as he retrieved an artifact, a glistening, intricately crafted crystal. He held it in his hand, its true nature and purpose unknown to him. However, such details mattered little to Michael. What truly captivated his attention was the pulsating energy it radiated. In a deliberate and measured manner, Michael began to connect with the energy contained within the golden crystal. Like a conduit, he absorbed the energy, allowing it to flow through him. The power surged within his being, its essence transforming into experience points. Absorbing energy. Converting the energy into experience points. Experience points converted 400,000. Experience points converted 500,000. As the energy dissipated into Michael's being, he felt the familiar sensation of growth and progression. Experience points accumulated, fueling his ascent to even greater heights. The absorbed energy became a stepping stone on his path toward the celestial stage. In this dark and lifeless abyss of the ocean floor, Michael continued to absorb the energy, converting it into the currency of his advancement. With each artifact that passed through his hands, Michael converted its power into valuable experience points. The tranquil depths of the ocean provided him with the solitude he needed to focus on absorbing the artifacts. As the energy of the artifacts flowed into him, Michael felt his cultivation stage advancing, pushing him closer to the next levels of his half-celestial power. Surrounded by the serene and shadowy expanse of the ocean, Michael embraced the transformative energy of the artifacts. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is half-celestial stage level 5. Absorbing energy. Converting the energy into experience points. Experience points converted 500,000. Experience points converted 800,000. With the absorption of the last artifact, Michael's cultivation journey reached a halt. He had ascended to the 7th level of the half-celestial stage. Only 4 more levels remained between him and the celestial stage, where the true power of a godly being awaited him. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is half-celestial stage level 7. This achievement brought him one step closer to his ultimate goal. Once he attained the celestial stage, the system would come online, triggering the tribulation that would propel him towards the next level of godhood, demigod. Chapter 1024. The battle between the gods is nearing. Chapter 1024. The battle between the gods is nearing. The evening sky was adorned with dark rain clouds, casting a gloomy hue over the horizon. Thunder rumbled in the distance, accompanied by intermittent flashes of lightning that illuminated the vast canyon below. The air was charged with anticipation, as if nature itself sensed the impending storm. Amidst this atmospheric display, Evan soared through the turbulent skies toward the kingdom of Bridia. His mind was consumed with worry for Victoria, his beloved, who had been taken hostage by the treacherous Dark Queen. Determined to ensure her safety, Evan focused all his energy on reaching her side. As he flew, a thought crossed Evan's mind, seeking help from Celice, the former queen of Nagaland. He knew that Celice possessed great knowledge and powers that could potentially dispel the poison coursing through Victoria's veins. However, the fear of endangering Victoria's life prevented him from reaching out to Celice. He believed that if he exposed the situation to Celice, the Dark Lord might activate the poison and bring harm to Victoria. In his heart, Evan harbored conflicting emotions. On one hand, he desired to save Victoria at any cost. On the other hand, he felt compelled to keep the truth hidden to protect her from further harm. Celice observed Evan using a glass orb while floating above Victoria's mansion as Evan made his way toward this mansion in Kingdom Bridia. She blended seamlessly with the dark clouds hovering high wealth and opulence of its inhabitants. But the tranquility of the mansion grounds had been shattered, replaced by the remnants of in the sky while keeping a close eye on the scene below. The mansion stood proudly, a grand structure amidst the chaos. Its walls were adorned with intricate designs, a testament to the wealth and opulence of its inhabitants. But the tranquility of the mansion grounds had been shattered, replaced by the remnants of a fierce battle. Lifeless bodies of soldiers lay scattered across the ground, their armors cracked open, and bodies riddled with multiple wounds. Arrows, sharp and deadly, had found their mark, leaving visible holes in the fallen soldiers' forms. The once pristine mansion ground was now stained with the vivid red of spilled blood, a chilling testament to the violence that had unfolded. The grandeur of the estate had been marred by destruction. Fountains stood broken, their gentle streams replaced by a solemn silence. Statues, once graceful and elegant, now bore the scars of combat, their delicate features chipped and broken. This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0M. Hovering behind Celice was a peculiar figure, a humanoid body with the majestic head of an eagle. This unique creature, known as Stormwing, was one of Celice's secretive henchmen, adept at carrying out her clandestine tasks. Stormwing, Evan has been compromised. Celice's voice rang out with an icy tone, her gaze piercing. The evidence pointed clearly to the Dark Queen's involvement, considering the soldiers in the mansion had been mercilessly slain. The Dark Queen's signature aerial assault left no chance for the soldiers to fight back. Yet, she had spared Victoria's life, leaving strategic leverage against Evan, Victoria's betrothed. Stormwing, being no stranger to intelligence, understood the situation without requiring further explanation. It was evident that the Dark Queen intended to strike a bargain with Evan, exploiting his emotional ties to Victoria. "My lady, how would you like me to handle Evan? It poses a challenge since you have elevated him to the status of a god," Stormwing voiced, its rough voice reflecting its beastly nature. Celice shook her head in response to Stormwing's suggestion. "You are mistaken, Stormwing. The god-killing arrows, even if retrieved by Noah, can only slay either him or the Dark Lord. They are single-use weapons, unable to be replicated or merged into a new form. Once the Dark Lord perishes, the arrows themselves will cease to exist," Celice revealed. Through the information shared by the evil version of Andreas, now merged with Noah, Celici had gained insights into the true nature of the god-killing arrows. However, unknown to Noah and the majority of beings in the realm of gods, there was no universal weapon capable of slaying all gods. Each god possessed unique characteristics and vulnerabilities, making it impossible for a single weapon to be effective against all of them. The details surrounding the forging of the god-killing arrows by Xianxia and her companions remained a mystery to most gods. In fact, the pantheon deliberately kept the existence of such powerful weapons concealed from many gods to prevent widespread panic within the realm. Celici had her suspicions regarding Xianxia's methods. She believed that Xianxia had utilized her time travel abilities to uncover ancient texts, delving into forgotten knowledge on how to craft the arrows capable of vanquishing the Dark Lord. Given that the Dark Lord and Noah, the god of light, were born as twins in the mortal realm, the god-killing arrows held the potential to eliminate either of them. If Celicis' understanding of the pantheon proved accurate, she surmised that the pantheon must possess a means to subdue each individual god within their realm, should any god rebel against their rule. However, the details of such methods remained closely guarded secrets, even to Celici herself. Then how do you propose we handle Evan, my lady? The longer we allow Evan to roam freely, the greater the potential damage he can inflict upon our entire operation, stated Stormwing, observing the calculating smile that crept across Celicis' face. If Evan has indeed struck a deal with the Dark Lord, his actions will undoubtedly revolve around the life of Victoria. The Dark Lord will undoubtedly use Victoria as a pawn to manipulate Evan into carrying out his bidding. However, if we eliminate this pawn, Victoria, the Dark Lord's hold over Evan will crumble. Evan is a valuable asset that we cannot afford to let slip away, explained Celici. Stormwing, who had served under Celici for many years, recognized the shrewd and cunning aura emanating from her words. He understood that Celicis' every action held deeper meaning and intricate plans. Many believed that it was Celicis' leadership that brought about the decline of Nagaland, even her stepdaughter Gaia. However, only a select few, such as Stormwing, knew that the decline of Nagaland was actually part of Celicis' grand design. For years, Stormwing and his team had carried out covert operations, targeting key figures within Nagaland and its allies, effectively weakening the kingdom from within. By destabilizing Nagaland, Celici removed it from the equation and eliminated a formidable ally that the Dark Lord could have exploited. Celicis' strategic moves ensured that the Dark Lord had no interest in claiming Nagaland for himself. Presently, Celici was utilizing Nagaland's hidden reserves of poisonous veins to produce potent poison weapons, which would prove crucial in the impending war against the Dark Lord. Eliminate Victoria, Stormwing. Make it appear as though her death is accidental. If the Dark Lord truly struck a deal with Evan, we cannot orchestrate her demise to make it seem like the Dark Lord was responsible. It would raise suspicions and Evan might grow wary. However, if her death appears to be an unfortunate accident, the Dark Lord will lose his hold over Evan. This will enable Evan to focus his energies on defeating the Dark Lord's army, without the distraction of his fiancée. I can channel his grief and anger towards our advantage, Celici coldly commanded Stormwing, instructing him to kill Victoria. While Celici was aiding Noah in collecting the god-killing arrows, she was well aware that 2 of the arrows were already in possession of the Dark Lord. Hence, Noah would require all the support he could muster to retrieve those arrows during their eventual confrontation. Celici was also confident that the Dark Lord would spare no effort in his fight against Noah, amassing his formidable army. Therefore, she planned to allocate a portion of her own army, which she was currently amassing, to aid Noah in his battle. As Noah clashed with the Dark Lord, her forces would engage the Dark Lord's army, ensuring their destruction. When should this be carried out, my lady? Confidently inquired Stormwing. To him, staging a murder to appear as an accident was a simple task. Give Evan a few more days with Victoria, then carry out her demise next week, Celici replied, displaying no remorse for her decision. In Celicis' mind, anyone could be sacrificed in the fight against the Dark Lord. Shall I take my leave, my lady? Inquired Stormwing, bowing his head slightly. Celici responded as Stormwing unfurled his majestic gray wings and took flight. With a single powerful flap, he soared through the dark clouds, swiftly disappearing from sight. Once Stormwing had departed, Celici retrieved a glowing silver orb from her pocket. The orb emanated a pulsating golden light from its core. "What is it, Andreas?" Celici questioned, addressing the glowing orb. "We have a problem. Noah's bitchy little sister, Sabrina, is on her way to dissuade him from engaging in battle with the Dark Lord. Something must be done," Andreas informed. "Noah will not heed her words. We don't need to intervene but rather redirect Sabrina to see the Dark Lord. If we're fortunate, Sabrina's presence may dampen the Dark Lord's eagerness to fight Noah, serving as an advantage for us. When Sabrina arrives to meet Noah, instruct her to visit the Dark Castle," Celici instructed. "I don't believe it's a wise decision. What if the Dark Lord attempts to manipulate Sabrina for his own purposes? Have you forgotten who we are dealing with, the Dark Lord himself?" Andreas growled, expressing his concerns. However, Celici remained composed. "Do as I say, Andreas. The battle between Noah and the Dark Lord is inevitable. We simply need to ensure Noah emerges victorious," Celici declared firmly, clenching the orb in her hand and shattering it into pieces. As the impending battle between the Dark Lord and Noah drew near, Celici had important matters to attend to, one of which was the mass production of various pills and potions for her army. To accomplish this, Celici sought out the current renowned alchemist in the world, Olivia Palmer, who coincidentally happened to be the Dark Lord's former disciple. Celici had been closely monitoring Olivia's activities ever since Ghost revealed himself as the Dark Lord, which led to Olivia severing her ties with him. Based on Sales's information and intelligence network, Olivia was no longer affiliated with the Dark Lord. However, she still possessed the knowledge and teachings he had imparted to her in the field of alchemy. Celici planned to leverage Olivia's expertise and enlist her aid in supporting Noah's battle against the Dark Lord and his formidable army. Chapter 1025, Diana Winston and the Light Flames. Chapter 1025, Diana Winston and the Light Flames. After commanding Stormwing to carry out the task of eliminating Victoria, Celici departed from the Elon continent and arrived in her secluded pocket dimension. As she materialized within her castle, she made her way directly to her personal quarters. Sales's room exuded an aura of warmth and comfort. Adorned with rich red curtains, a cozy bed, and an array of furnishings, it emanated a sense of luxury. Countless books, maps, and scrolls adorned the room, reflecting Sales's thirst for knowledge and strategy. The soft glow of candlelight illuminated the space, casting a gentle, flickering ambience. Portraits of Celici adorned one of the walls, capturing her commanding presence and enigmatic nature. Upon entering the room, Celici securely closed the door behind her. Retrieving a dagger from her space ring, she made a small cut on her palm, allowing droplets of blood to fall. With her bleeding hand, she pressed her palm against the door. In response, intricate crimson runes illuminated on the surface, accompanied by a distinct clicking sound. Satisfied with the enhanced security, Celici directed her attention toward one of the portraits hanging on the wall. Studying the portrait intently, Celici shook her palm, causing droplets of blood to splatter upon it. As the crimson stains connected with the portrait, a gentle hum resonated from within. Suddenly, bright beams of light shot forth from the portrait's eyes, enveloping Celici in their radiant glow. Within a blink of an eye, she vanished from the room, leaving behind only the illuminated portrait. Using the teleported in Sales's room, she appeared in one of the special prisons of the Sky Hall. Stepping into this prison, which was an empty hall, Sales's gaze fell upon a solitary glass cage occupying the center. Within the confines of the cage, a woman with flowing black hair sat in deep meditation. Her hair gracefully fluttered behind her, and a palpable aura of power radiated from her very being. Approaching the glass cage with measured steps, Celici extended her hand to touch the cool surface. A mischievous smile tugged at the corner of her lips as she whispered, "Wake up, Harriet." After Diana revealed the shocking truth that the Dark Lord was her own son, the Sky Hall deemed her dangerous and locked her away in a specially designed cage. For an entire year, Diana had been confined within the cold, restrictive confines of the cage. Its purpose was twofold: to prevent her from accessing her powers and to isolate her from any human contact. Only Celici, who harbored a deep-rooted hatred for the Dark Lord, would visit Diana, ensuring her captivity remained absolute. As Celici stood before the glass cage, she observed Diana's weary expression. The once fierce and proud woman now appeared diminished, her spirit dampened by the prolonged imprisonment. Diana's powers, once formidable, were nullified by the cage's enchantments, leaving her defenseless and vulnerable. A mixture of pity and satisfaction flickered in Xianxia's eyes as she regarded Diana. The woman who had given birth to the Dark Lord, the one who had caused so much chaos and destruction, was now reduced to a mere captive. For Celici, this was both a form of justice and a means to further her own ambitions. As Celici taunted Diana, she slowly opened her eyes, her gaze steady and resolute. Unfazed by Xianxia's provocations, Diana refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing her beg for information about her family. She knew Celici reveled in the power she held over her, but Diana was determined to maintain her composure. Celici smirked, relishing in her role as the bearer of ominous news. "It is happening, Diana, or should I say Harriet Hunt," she taunted, emphasizing Diana's past identity. With a calm demeanor, Diana responded, "Your two sons are preparing to fight each other. There is nothing to stop them from killing each other. Especially Noah, he is pretty pissed off because of what the Dark Lord, his own brother, did. This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0M." Celici snickered at Diana's words, reveling in the chaos that was about to unfold. "Dean might have swung his sword, but it was you and the Sky Hall who orchestrated Alicia's death. You could have stopped it, but you didn't," Diana accused. Xianxia's laughter filled the air, a twisted symphony of malice. "Look at you, still blaming the Sky Hall, even after I've told you that your two sons are destined to clash." Diana remained steadfast, refusing to be swayed by Xianxia's manipulations. "I know my sons, Celici. They will not kill each other. But perhaps you should be more concerned for your own well-being. Noah may be forgiving, but my other son, the Dark Lord, is not known for his mercy." Enraged by Diana's calm composure, Celici retrieved a crystal adorned with intricate runes. This crystal, a rare possession held only by a select few within the Sky Hall, granted Celici control over Diana. Establishing a mental connection with the crystal, Celici tightly clenched her fist, causing a specific rune to illuminate on the glass cage. The effect was immediate and agonizing. Diana growled in pain as the rune activated, triggering her pain receptors to overload. Waves of excruciating sensation coursed through her body, causing blood to trickle from her nose and eyes. Celici, driven by her sadistic tendencies, intensified her grip on the crystal, prolonging Diana's torment. With each surge of energy she directed into the crystal, Diana's suffering escalated. The pain became unbearable, pushing Diana to her limits. However, realizing her time was limited, Celici relented, willing the crystal to release its hold on Diana. The agony subsided, leaving Diana panting and weakened from the ordeal. "As much as I love these little torture sessions," Celici sneered, "I am pressed for time. With Noah poised to fight the Dark Lord, it falls upon me to ensure Noah's victory and put an end to the Dark Lord's reign before it even begins." Xianxia's gaze bore into Diana's, a chilling intensity emanating from her eyes. "To ensure Noah's success, I need the power of your light flames. We both know they rightfully belong to Noah, the god of light." Upon hearing Xianxia's request, Diana emitted a pained chuckle, spitting blood from her mouth. Xianxia's demand did not catch Diana off guard, for she knew that one day the Sky Hall or Celici herself would come seeking her primordial flame, the light flames. However, Diana had no intention of surrendering her primordial flames to Celici. With a resolute tone, Diana retorted, "I have a better idea. Why don't you go fuck yourself?" Xianxia's lips curled into a sinister smirk, seemingly unfazed by Diana's defiance. "Is that how a proper lady speaks, Diana? It seems the Dark Lord has inherited his mother's traits. He truly is his mother's son. But, as I mentioned before, I find myself pressed for time. Hence, I have brought forth a little trump card that might persuade you to relinquish your light flames. With a swift flick of her wrist, Celici conjured a mirror crafted from shimmering light. Within the mirror's surface, an unsettling scene unfolded. A battered and bruised man with a long beard, unkempt hair, and countless wounds appeared before Diana's eyes. Pools of blood formed beneath him as he lay unconscious in a dungeon adorned with various implements of torture, such as chains, barbed wire, and a collection of menacing daggers. The man, chained to a wall, seemed to be in a state of profound suffering. As Diana's gaze met the man's visage, her heart skipped a beat, a surge of anger and anguish piercing through her. The man was none other than Ethan, her beloved husband. As Diana's gaze shifted to the orc beside Ethan, her heart sank further. The orc stood tall and imposing, his hulking form exuding an aura of brutality. His muscular physique was covered in coarse, greenish skin, adorned with scars and markings earned from countless battles. His beady eyes glinted with a sadistic gleam, and his crooked tusks protruded menacingly from his lower jaw. "Release the light flames," Celici uttered with a chilling tone. "Each time you refuse, my companion here," she pointed towards the orc, "to carry out Xianxia's ruthless commands, will delight in dismembering your husband, limb by agonizing limb." Xianxia's words hung in the air, their weight suffocating. The orc, known for his expertise in inflicting unimaginable pain, stood ready to carry out Xianxia's ruthless commands. Diana was stuck between tough, dire choices once again. But while she was stuck in her thoughts, Celici gave the command to the orc. "Take his right arm," coldly said Celici. Diana's heart sank as Xianxia's command was swiftly executed by the orc. The sound of Ethan's agonized screams pierced the air, reverberating through the desolate hall. Horror consumed Diana as she watched in despair as her husband's right arm was violently torn from his shoulder. Blood gushed from the wound, staining the surroundings with its crimson hue. "Now, if you don't want your husband to lose the other arm, I'll recommend you to give me the light flames." The orc presented the severed arm to Celici, a grim reminder of the barbarity Diana had witnessed. Xianxia's cold words cut through the air, leaving Diana with a harrowing ultimatum: surrender the light flames or risk her husband's suffering further torment. "No!" Diana's voice cracked with anguish, her plea desperate and filled with anguish. The sight of Ethan's suffering fueled her determination, yet she remained torn between protecting her precious power and saving her beloved spouse. Celici nodded at the orc, worldly telling him to rip Ethan's other arm. However, before the orc could touch Ethan, Diana roared. "Stop it!" Diana screamed. Celici observed Diana's agony and her reluctant submission with a twisted satisfaction. The orc halted, its hand frozen in midair, as Diana's desperate plea echoed through the prison's cold walls. "Stop hurting him. I'll give you the light flames." Reluctantly, Diana made a painful decision, her voice laden with a mixture of anger and despair. She agreed to surrender the light flames, knowing that it was the only way to spare Ethan from further suffering. With a heavy heart, she closed her eyes, allowing the deep connection to the light flames within her soul to surface. A radiant glow enveloped her body as the powerful essence of the light flames materialized in a dazzling display. Taking the form of a luminous star, the flames exuded a brilliant energy. Celici, seizing the opportunity, clenched the crystal in her hand, triggering a rune that swiftly extracted the primordial light flames from Diana's being. In an instant, the flames were whisked away to the mortal realm, where they would seek their destined host, Noah Winston. That wasn't so hard, was it? Satisfied with her accomplishment, Celici turned her back to leave the prison, her dark intentions evident. As she prepared to take her first step, Diana's words pierced the air with chilling determination. "Kill me now, Celici. If you don't, I will get out of this cage, I will find you and I will kill you. That is a promise." Diana's voice dripped with a cold resolve, her eyes radiating an intense and unyielding determination. Chapter 1026. Sabrina's plea to her brother Xianxia stood in awe as he gazed at the meticulously crafted armor before him. Its surface gleamed with a pristine white hue, reflecting the light in a mesmerizing manner. Intricate golden linings adorned every edge, accentuating the armor's regal appearance. Runes, delicately engraved, formed a pattern that seemed to dance across the surface, imbuing the armor with a mystical aura. Beside the armor, a pair of swords rested with lion heads adorning their hilts. The swords emanated a sense of power and elegance, their blades polished to a mirror-like sheen. The lion heads bore a fierce expression, a symbol of strength and courage. Andreas, Noah's trusted advisor, stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the magnificent armor. He began to unravel its origins and significance. This armor, he began, his voice filled with reverence, was crafted by the Han Torum dwarves. We both know that they were master artisans known for their exceptional craftsmanship. Andreas continued, "It is a pity they disbanded their clan due to the Dark Lord's impending threat. This armor, Noah, is one of their greatest creations. It is said to provide unparalleled protection and enhance the wearer's abilities." Noah's eyes widened with anticipation. He understood the gravity of the upcoming battle against the Dark Lord and the need for every advantage. "Teacher, this armor. It is beautiful," Andreas nodded, a solemn expression crossing his face. "Yes, Noah, it is beautiful. But the armor is imbued with ancient enchantments, enhancing not only your defense but also your agility and strength. It will be a formidable asset in your quest to defeat the Dark Lord." Noah reached out, running his fingers over the intricate engravings on the armor. He could feel the power resonating within it. "Thank you, teacher. We need every advantage we can get," Noah declared, his voice filled with a newfound resolve. Andreas placed a hand on Noah's shoulder, his gaze reflecting unwavering loyalty. "Remember, Noah, you are the hope of this realm. The fate of countless lives rests on your shoulders. This armor is but a tool to aid you in your noble cause." As Noah admired the intricate details of the Han Torum armor, little did he know that the man standing beside him was not the trustworthy mentor he had come to rely upon. This version of Andreas was merely an evil fragment of his soul, pretending to be his guide, subtly manipulating him to fulfill Sales's sinister agenda. Andreas, or rather the impostor, maintained a facade of unwavering loyalty, his voice filled with a deceptive warmth. "Noah, this armor will undoubtedly be the key to your victory against the Dark Lord. Trust in its power and let it guide you in the upcoming battle." Noah, consumed by his determination to defeat his twin brother and bring an end to the Dark Lord's reign, eagerly accepted his words without suspicion. He believed in the bond he had forged with Andreas, unaware that it had been tainted by deceit. Together, they made plans, discussing strategies and tactics to confront the Dark Lord. Noah shared his deepest fears and vulnerabilities, trusting his mentor with his innermost thoughts. Little did he know that every word spoken in confidence was being relayed back to Salisi, the puppeteer pulling the strings. As the days passed, Noah continued to train relentlessly, honing his skills and donning the Han Torum armor, unaware that his every move was being scrutinized by the impostor beside him. The evil version of Andreas reveled in his role, gathering information and plotting his next move. In Noah's eyes, he saw only the reflection of the mentor he had grown to trust, but behind that facade lurked a darker intent. The impostor understood that as Noah's powers grew, so too did the threat he posed to the Dark Lord's reign. At the moment, Noah stood atop the serene mountain peak, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of nature. The rising sun painted the sky with vibrant hues, while the distant ocean expanded endlessly, its waves crashing against the shoreline. The tranquil atmosphere provided a sense of peace and clarity, a much-needed respite from the impending battle that loomed ahead. Lost in his training, Noah suddenly noticed a figure gracefully soaring through the sky towards him. A smile spread across his face as he recognized the familiar form of his beloved younger sister, Sabrina. With a soft landing, she approached him, her eyes sparkling with joy and her heart filled with anticipation. Without hesitation, Sabrina lunged forward, embracing her big brother with all her might. Noah reciprocated the embrace, holding her tightly against his chest. Tears streamed down Sabrina's cheeks as she whispered, "I missed you so much, Noah." Noah's voice trembled with emotion as he replied, I missed you too, Sabrina. You have no idea how much. They stood locked in a heartfelt embrace, the weight of their separation lifting with each passing moment. Finally releasing each other, Noah wiped away Sabrina's tears and gazed into her eyes. Sabrina's eyes filled with concern as she asked Noah about their parents and their elder sister, Rowena. Her voice quivered with worry as she hoped for positive news. Noah took a deep breath, his gaze filled with a mixture of sadness and determination. Father and mother are imprisoned by the Sky Hall, Noah revealed, his voice tinged with a hint of frustration. Sabrina's eyes widened in understanding, for she too was aware of the Sky Hall's cruel actions. They will only be released after I defeat Ghost, Noah continued, using the name by which he referred to the Dark Lord. Sabrina's brows furrowed, and her voice trembled as she pleaded with him. Noah, there must be another way. We shouldn't have to fight our own brother, Sabrina implored, her voice filled with a mix of desperation and sadness. She clutched Noah's arm, her eyes searching his for any sign of hesitation. Noah shook his head gently, his expression resolute. Sabrina, you must understand. The Dark Lord is not our family anymore. He has embraced darkness and poses a threat to the world. If I don't stop him, countless lives will be lost. Sabrina's eyes welled up with tears as she struggled to accept Noah's words. The reality of the situation weighed heavily on her. The thought of her own brother transformed into a malevolent force difficult to comprehend. As Noah's words sank in, Sabrina's mind raced with memories of her encounters with Ghost. Even before learning his true identity as her brother, she had always felt an unexplainable connection to him. When Sabrina was captured by vampires, she had secretly prayed for her brother to come and save her, and to her surprise, it was Ghost who appeared to rescue her. Despite the world labeling Ghost as the embodiment of evil, Sabrina refused to accept that her brother was truly wicked. She held on to the belief that there was still goodness within him, even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. If we can find Rowena, she will be able to release mother and father. She wouldn't allow her own brothers to fight to the death, Sabrina asserted, clenching her fist with determination, yearning for their elder sister to be by their side. Noah sighed, knowing that Rowena's whereabouts remained a mystery. Many believed she had perished, but Noah knew deep down that it would take more than a celestial beam to extinguish her indomitable spirit. This battle between Ghost and me must happen, Sabrina. He took Alicia's life. She was my wife. I must avenge her, Noah confessed, his voice tinged with a hint of vulnerability. Noah, you must understand that Alicia had the opportunity to walk away, Sabrina explained, her voice filled with empathy. But her heart was consumed by the intense hatred she felt towards Ghost for what he had done to her brother. It was that overwhelming hatred that fueled her determination to confront him. As Sabrina spoke, Noah raised his hand, signifying his desire to interject and share his own perspective. If I were to kill Gaia, Ghost's wife, would that be enough for him to forgive me? Noah posed the question, his voice heavy with the weight of their complicated family dynamics. The feud between Ghost and the Sky Hall has endured for far too long, Sabrina. I must bring an end to it, regardless of the fact that he is my brother, Noah concluded, his heart burdened by the difficult choices he had to make. You should return to the Aquilon realm and stay there until the battle is over, Sabi. Noah's voice trembled with emotion, his eyes welling up with tears. His love and concern for his sister were palpable in his words. If something happens to me in the battle, I need you to be safe and find a way to save our family. Sabrina's heart skipped a beat upon hearing Noah's plea. Her mind and emotions were thrown into turmoil. On one hand, there was Noah, her brother whom she had known and grown up with since childhood. On the other hand, there was Ghost, her recently discovered brother who had been abandoned by their mother. Sabrina couldn't bear the thought of either of her brothers falling in a battle, regardless of how long she had known them. I refuse to stand by and watch my brothers fight each other. I will find a way to stop both of you, Sabrina declared, her voice filled with newfound determination. Noah looked slightly surprised at her resolve, but deep inside, he sighed, understanding Sabrina's naivety. As he looked into her eyes, Sabrina embraced him once again, holding him tightly. I will not let our family be torn apart, she whispered, her voice filled with conviction. Noah returned her embrace, a gentle smile forming on his lips. However, unbeknownst to Noah, as Sabrina hugged him, Sabrina retrieved a teleportation scroll from her belongings. Activating it swiftly, she spoke resolutely, I am doing this for the sake of our family. In an instant, a radiant white light enveloped Sabrina, whisking her away before Noah could react. She disappeared from his sight, leaving him with a mix of emotions. Before Noah could react, Sabrina vanished from his sight, transported to another location. With unwavering determination, Sabrina set her sights on the dark castle, where she intended to confront Ghost, her other brother. Chapter 1027. Sabrina's plea to her brother's eye. After using the teleportation scroll, Sabrina found herself at the edge of the dark ocean. It was the first time she had laid her eyes upon this foreboding body of water, as her previous knowledge had only come from books and newspapers. As she stood on the beach with its black sand, Sabrina understood why it was called the Dark Ocean. Stretching out before her was an endless expanse of black water, while the sky above was filled with menacing storm clouds and lightning bolts illuminating the darkened sky. The wind howled with an eerie sound, and in the distance, she could spot several tornadoes swirling between the sky and the ocean, forming an otherworldly bridge. In the far horizon, she caught a glimpse of her brother's floating mountain, the Dark Lord's stronghold, hovering above the dark ocean. Sabrina knew that once she crossed the boundary line, known as the Void Line, she would no longer be able to rely on arch-energy to fly. So, reaching the floating mountain by air was not an option. With a flick of her wrist, Sabrina summoned a golden cube, one of the many artifacts she had acquired during her time at Mazeroth Academy. As she lightly tapped the cube with her toe, it transformed into a magnificent golden boat. This boat was a gift from Wulfric, the headmaster of Mazeroth, awarded to Sabrina for her victory in a duel. It had wings attached to its sides, resembling a fantastical creature. Sabrina climbed aboard the boat, grasping the paddle firmly. The wings on the boat began to flap, harnessing the power of the wind through intricate gears and mechanisms, propelling the boat forward with remarkable speed. As Sabrina's boat forged ahead, battling against the tumultuous waves and the raging storm, it shuddered under the relentless assault. Nevertheless, Sabrina remained resolute, maintaining her steady grip on the paddle. Though she knew that her brother, the Dark Lord, would not be awaiting her in the dark castle atop the floating mountain, she held on to the hope that he would be watching from a distance, ready to meet her. The closer she drew to the towering floating mountain, the more ferocious the weather became. Dark clouds loomed overhead, unleashing their fury in the form of thunderous roars and flashes of lightning. Amidst the tempest, Sabrina caught sight of figures clad in gleaming silver and sky-blue armor, their wings of feathers shimmering in the stormy sky. With a single glance, she recognized them as the Sky Hall Angels, the very beings who had brought their wrath upon the world since her mother, Diana, revealed the truth about the Dark Lord being her son. Their presence had ushered in a wave of change, and they had captured the Dark Castle. Sabrina couldn't help but ponder why the Dark Lord's army had retreated rather than putting up a fight. The whereabouts of his vampires and undead forces remained a mystery, leaving her with lingering questions and doubts. Yet, for now, she set aside those concerns, pushing them to the recesses of her mind. All she could do was cling to the hope that her brother, the Dark Lord, would come to her. In her heart, she believed that making her way toward the Dark Castle and relying on the chance that he might be watching over his stronghold was her only avenue to meet him. As the boat battled the fierce waves, a group of Sky Hall angels descended from the dark clouds, their graceful forms hovering in the sky. Their ethereal presence enveloped the air around them, their wings outstretched as they encircled Sabrina's boat. Among them, one angel stood out, adorned in silver armor with intricate gold and crimson red linings that shimmered in the dim light. With a determined expression, he removed his helmet, revealing fiery red hair and a dark-skinned face marked by a prominent scar running across his left eye. His voice resonated with a mixture of curiosity and disdain as he asked, "What business do you have, venturing towards the Dark Castle?" Sabrina's eyes met his, and without hesitation she replied, "I am hoping to meet the Dark Lord." The angel's snicker carried a hint of bitter resentment as he clenched his fist, his rage simmering beneath the surface. The memories of the Nagaland War flooded his mind, where he believed his brother had been slain by the Dark Lord. The pain of that loss burned within him, fueling his determination. "You hope to meet the Dark Lord?" he scoffed. "Do you not know the atrocities he has committed? The lives he has destroyed?" Sabrina maintained her composure, refusing to engage in a futile argument with the enraged angel. She understood the prejudice held by some of the Sky Hall angels towards her and her family, but she also knew the truth was far more complex than their narrow perspectives allowed. The angel's voice dripped with venom as he continued his tirade, his anger palpable. "Your brother, that evil scumbag, has brought darkness upon this world. Your mother's decision to give birth to such a devil has caused nothing but pain and suffering." Silently, Sabrina bore the weight of his words. She was well aware of the judgments and accusations that had been cast upon her family. Despite her inner turmoil, she knew it was futile to argue or reason with the angel. The prejudice against her and her family was deeply ingrained, and she understood that attempting to change their minds in this moment would be an exercise in futility. The angel's voice grew colder as he delivered his final words. "The Dark Lord is not in his castle, it is under the control of the Sky Hall. Consider yourself fortunate to have been admitted to Mazeroth and granted protection. But know this, in my eyes, you and your entire family can rot in hell. If I were you, I would fly away and disappear from my sight." Sabrina finally spoke, her voice carrying a warning that resonated through the dark ocean. "Do you think I am foolish for venturing into the depths of the dark ocean, knowing that the Dark Lord is not in the castle? Have you ever stopped to consider that I am here because I know he will be watching, observing everything within his domain? Do you truly believe he would allow you to retain control of the castle for long?" Sabrina's questions hung in the air, causing the Sky Hall angels to pause and contemplate the true meaning behind her words. "I am here to talk to the Dark Lord, and if you get out of my way, I will take him somewhere else and talk. Otherwise, he will slaughter you all." Sabrina's words carried a sense of determination and an underlying warning, causing a flicker of uncertainty to pass through the angel's eyes. As the angel leader snickered, his twisted grin revealing his dark intentions, he confidently asserted, "Although I cannot kill you, little girl, I can certainly ensure you leave this place with a few broken bones. Consider it a lesson in humility." With those words, the angel began his descent, his wings gracefully guiding him downward towards Sabrina's boat. The intricate contraptions embedded in their armor, powered by arch-energy crystals from the Ukilun realm, granted the angels the ability to fly and enhanced their combat prowess. However, Sabrina remained composed and steadfast, her gaze unwavering as the angel landed on her boat with a resounding thud. Ignoring the threatening presence before her, she refused to flinch or display any sign of fear. Raising his hand, the angel prepared to deliver a forceful slap to Sabrina, confident in his ability to intimidate her. As the angel leader's hand descended towards Sabrina, a sudden eruption of hot blood splattered across her face. The angel leader's expression twisted in agony and confusion as he stared at his arm, which now ended abruptly at the missing wrist. Blood sprayed from the severed limb, painting the air in crimson hues. A moment of shock and disbelief held the other angels captive as their eyes followed the dark trajectory of a floating sword. The black blade glistened with a macabre sheen, dripping with the evidence of its lethal strike. With a steady and deliberate motion, the sword soared through the air, homing in on its intended target, the Dark Lord himself. Sabrina turned her head and beheld the awe-inspiring sight of her brother, the Dark Lord, suspended in the air. His commanding presence radiated power, accentuated by the spread of his black metallic wings. The wind tousled his dark hair, framing his stoic countenance as his cold gaze fixated upon the angels, their impending doom evident in his piercing eyes. As the Dark Lord returned to his domain, the angels of the Sky Hall quivered in fear, witnessing his formidable presence firsthand. Their eyes met his for a fleeting moment, before he shifted his gaze towards them. A sinister darkness enveloped the area, as his eyes flickered with an eerie hue, ignited by the ominous flames that danced within. Though the Sky Hall angels boasted their arch-energy crystal-infused armor, the Dark Lord held absolute dominion over the dark ocean. Crackling bolts of dark lightning emanated from his outstretched hand, an awe-inspiring display of his power. "Dark Lord," the angels muttered, their voices tinged with apprehension. However, before they could mount any defense, the Dark Lord unleashed a barrage of lightning bolts, each one piercing through their heads with deadly precision. In an instant, the angels plummeted from the sky, lifeless forms descending like fallen flies. The Dark Lord's might was unrivaled, and the Sky Hall angels were but feeble adversaries before him. Once the fallen angels lay still upon the ocean's surface, the Dark Lord approached Sabrina, his intense gaze locking with hers. In her desperation, Sabrina mustered the courage to plead with him, hoping he would grant her a moment to speak. "Please, Ghost, give me the opportunity to talk to you," Sabrina beseeched, her voice filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty, her heart yearning for a chance to reach her brother's troubled soul. "If you are here to stop the fight between your brother Noah and me, you are going to be disappointed. Soon, only one of us will stand and the other will fall," the Dark Lord declared with an air of finality. Chapter 1028. Sabrina's plea to her brothers 3. After dispatching the Sky Hall angels, Michael carried Sabrina in his arms and swiftly flew away from the dark ocean. Within minutes, they landed on the worn-out premises of an abandoned castle in Kingdom Giselle. Michael, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, spoke with a solemn tone. "Sabrina, why have you come here?" he inquired, his eyes scanning the vast expanse before him. "You know why I am here. I want to stop my brothers from killing each other," Sabrina replied, her hands fidgeting nervously as she stood a few meters away from him on the rooftop. "Though we share the same mother, Sabrina, I am not your brother. I have never been and never will be. So, I will fight Noah not as a sibling, but as the Dark Lord, as the world has labeled me," Michael firmly asserted, unwavering in his determination to face Noah in battle. As Michael continued to gaze into the distance, Sabrina mustered her courage and closed the distance between them, taking hold of Michael's hand. "You are my brother. No matter what you think or what the world says, I don't care. You are my brother," Sabrina proclaimed, her eyes welling up with tears. Caught off guard by Sabrina's words, Michael slowly turned his head, his gaze meeting hers. "We both understand that the Sky Hall seeks to manipulate the situation, forcing you and Noah into this conflict. But you too possess the strength to face any challenge. Stand against the Sky Hall and destroy them," Sabrina pleaded, her words tinged with a hint of uncertainty. "I am fighting the Sky Hall, Sabrina. I will destroy them, but your brother is standing in my way. Let me ask you this, Sabrina, will Noah back down from this fight?" Michael asked, his voice tinged with a mix of certainty and curiosity. As anticipated, Sabrina remained silent, unable to provide a definitive response to Michael's query. "There was a time I tried to change the world's view of me. But not anymore. I am tired of explaining my state to the world," Michael sighed, his weariness evident in his voice. "You killed his wife, Ghost. I understand she was always a bitch to you for what you did to her brother, but you could have knocked her out easily, but you killed her. Would you back off of this fight if something happened to Gaia?" Sabrina challenged Michael, her words filled with a mixture of understanding and concern. "The battle between Noah and me is inevitable," Michael replied resolutely, though Sabrina shook her head in disagreement. "This chapter upload first at Enavusby, C0M. I refuse to stand idly by and watch my brothers kill each other," Sabrina asserted, her determination shining through. "Regardless of the outcome, Sabrina, you will always have a brother," Michael said, his voice softening as he gently caressed her head. "You know, your mother abandoned me when I was a baby. Noah is hell-bent on fighting me. Rowena could have put an end to the Sky Hall long ago, and your father Ethan is a man who failed to protect his family. However, you, Sabrina, are innocent in all of this," Michael expressed a hint of sorrow in his eyes. "In another life, I would have cherished you as my little sister. I apologize for being unable to be the big brother you long for. To this world and your family, I am the Dark Lord who must die," Michael concluded, his gaze turning cold, and the warmth of his smile fading away. "But I don't die. I am the one who kills. They tossed me into a void when I was just a baby, hoping I won't come back. But here I am, Michael's voice grew rough, and Sabrina felt the darkness around them intensify, a tangible display of his power as the god of darkness. Ghost, I don't believe our mother willingly abandoned you. Something must have happened, I can see it in your eyes. Deep down, you know that there is more to the story. The Sky Hall has manipulated everyone, including you. Please, consider this and don't let them control you, Sabrina pleaded, her voice filled with genuine concern. The ones who were truly manipulated are your brother Noah and your sister Rowena. But regardless of the outcome, whether I win or Noah does, the Sky Hall will be destroyed. You will be reunited with your family and can lead a happy life, Michael remarked, brushing Sabrina's eyes. Although he didn't openly express his love as a brother, his simple gesture conveyed his inherent kindness and care. I understand your intentions, Sabrina. You don't want this fight. However, the decision is not mine to make. Khaleesi is currently manipulating your brother, Noah, and I don't blame him. Killing me seems to be the only choice he believes will save his family. Tell him that I will meet him on the battlefield, Michael stated, retrieving a simple silver chain from his storage and handing it to Sabrina. Accept this as a gift from me. I despise your Winston family, but not you. You have always held a special place in my heart. Michael smiled and gently pinched Sabrina's cheek. After this battle concludes, your family will find their way back to you, Michael assured Sabrina. They then sat together on the rooftop, quietly contemplating the horizon. Sabrina understood that persuading her brothers to change their minds was an impossible task. Despite her desperate desire to prevent their clash, she had no means to intervene. So, she chose to sit beside Michael and spend some precious moments with him as his little sister. Eventually, Michael bid farewell to Sabrina and made his way to the mountain peak where he had first encountered Nithrol. As night fell, the mountaintop was engulfed in darkness, with only the half-moon casting a faint glow. Emerging from the shadows of the trees, Nithrol joined Michael atop the mountain. I think you should take a look at. I told you never to return to the mortal realm until you reach the celestial stage, Nithrol admonished. I intended to follow that instruction, but I received an anonymous note, Michael replied, handing a piece of parchment to Nithrol. Taking the parchment, Nithrol read its contents aloud. I was planning to, but I received an anonymous note. Nithrol recited the chilling words written on the note. Do you have any idea who might have sent this note? Nithrol inquired. Khaleesi, who else? Michael shrugged. The Queen of Nagaland. So she has been working against you, Nithrol mused, to which Michael nodded in agreement. While you were in Aitnes, Evan approached me with a proposition. He wanted me and my army to join forces with him in the battle against you. I always suspected that Evan wasn't acting alone. Could he be working for Khaleesi? Nithrol questioned. Michael acknowledged. And how did you respond to his offer? Michael asked. What do you think? I said no. As far as the mortal's concerned, I don't align with you or Noah. I may be the goddess of hunt, but I like to be the empress more. So the lives and livelihood of my citizens is far more important than anything, Nithrol explained. As she spoke, Michael retrieved a parchment and handed it to Nithrol. Keep this with you and read it after my battle with Noah, Michael instructed. Placing the scroll safely in her space ring, Nithrol shifted her gaze from the distant horizon to Michael. You should be aware that your former disciple, Olivia, is assisting Noah in creating pills and potions for his army. The Sky Hall has provided Noah with a formidable force, and every kingdom in Elon and Azer continents has been mobilized. While many kings and queens may not have wished to fight against you, they had no choice. I hope you have an army capable of standing against them, Nithrol informed Michael. Olivia, Michael mumbled, his mind filled with memories of the time he spent teaching her alchemy. I suspect that Noah has gathered the god-killing arrows and distributed them among his trusted allies. Olivia might be one of them. Shouldn't you try to obtain the arrows for yourself? Nithrol questioned, but Michael shook his head. I already possess 2 arrows, and Noah is helping me by gathering all the arrows and bringing them to me, Michael revealed. Whatever your plan may be, you should execute it swiftly. If I were in Sales's position, I would engage you in Rivertown. It holds sentimental value for you, And your warships would be rendered ineffective there, Nithrol advised, sharing her insights about the upcoming battle. I don't care where the battle takes place. I just want it to be over, Michael sighed, feeling weary from the planning and preparation. You do realize that I won't be aiding you in the battle, right? Nithrol asked, and Michael nodded in acknowledgement. Don't die, Ghost. If Noah can defeat you, you stand no chance against the Pantheon. So, if you fall, better stay dead, Nithrol warned before disappearing from the mountaintop, utilizing her teleportation scroll, leaving Michael alone with his thoughts. In the solitude and silence, Michael took a deep breath and strategized his next moves. With the battle looming near, he knew his priority was to gather his undead army and the vampires who retreated to the undead island. Chapter 1029. Preparing for the battle against Noah. With just 12 hours remaining until the battle between Michael and Noah, tension hung in the air. The urgent note Michael received stated that he had 2 days to fight Noah, or his captured subordinates would meet their demise. Among his subordinates, Adelia Wraith, Maxine, Tiberius, Titus, Optimus, and Trista were held captive by the Sky Hall. As for the remaining subordinates, Raylene, Sadie, Gibson, Corey, the Silent Reaper crew, and Lenora, they were currently away from the undead island and unable to join the impending battle. Michael was left with only a handful of trusted allies: Gaia, his wife, Arya, the Queen of Shadows, Ricky, and Saber, the King of the Nightwalkers. Additionally, Delar stood among them, loyal and ready to fight. The undead island stood as an isolated sanctuary amidst the vast ocean, bridging the southern continent and our continent. As night fell, darkness engulfed the island, shrouding it in an eerie atmosphere. Thick, lush forests and towering trees dominated the landscape, concealing the secrets within. At the heart of the island stood the crypt, a magnificent golden pyramid constructed by the ancient Order of the Death 3 millennia ago. Hidden among the trees, it remained a well-guarded secret. But it was not just the crypt that lay hidden within the forest. Countless undead creatures roamed the outskirts, their decaying forms blending seamlessly with the surroundings. Above the forest floor, concealed among the trees, thousands of vampires silently waited, ready to lend their support when the time came. Inside the crypt, Michael stood at the very center, Gaia faithfully by his side, while he surveyed the faces of Arya, Ricky, Saber, and Delar. Positioned behind them were the Alpha Undead, possessing the remarkable ability to control the vast army of undead soldiers strategically. Visually, these Alpha Undeads appeared indistinguishable from the rest of the zombie-like creatures that roamed outside the crypt. Michael deliberately disguised them as ordinary undead, a clever ploy to prevent any suspicion or targeted attacks from their adversaries. By seamlessly blending in with the countless undead, these alpha beings became virtually undetectable amidst the chaos of battle. The tension was palpable on everyone's faces, except for the stoic and emotionless alpha undead. As Michael stood at the center of the crypt, the top of the crypt opened, revealing Eve as she descended, bearing important news. Just as Empress Nithrol predicted, Ghost, the Sky Hall has chosen the river town as the battleground, Eve informed. She approached Michael, leaning closer to whisper into his ear. Our spy has revealed that Noah and the Sky Hall angels had a disagreement. The angels wanted to use the townspeople as leverage to force your surrender, but Noah went against it and evacuated the town with the help of his allies in the Beast Kingdom, Eve whispered. Fucking assholes. Gaia cursed the Sky Hall for their attempt to exploit innocent lives in their battle against Michael. Lady Eve, do you have any information about the size of the Sky Hall and Noah's armies? Saber inquired. They have 8,000 soldiers in total, including 2,000 beast men and 3,000 Sky Hall angels. However, I suspect the Sky Hall may have more soldiers and hidden strategies up their sleeves, Eve disclosed. Gaia's brows furrowed at the news, her role as a general coming to the forefront. Not only was she Michael's wife, but also a skilled commander with the ability to lead a formidable army. In contrast, Michael, the Dark Lord himself, had been trained as an assassin, lacking the experience in commanding such vast forces. Thanks to what you did, they won't have demons, Gaia stated, scanning the crypt as if searching for someone. Speaking of demons, where is Azazel? Gaia asked, curious about Azazel's whereabouts. Doing something important with Eladir, Michael replied. Hearing the number of soldiers that Noah and the Sky Hall had unsettled Michael's subordinates. With 6,000 soldiers in their dark army, including undead and vampires, they wanted to ensure they had the advantage in numbers despite the strength of their undead and vampire forces. This is it, everyone. Our grand battle against the Sky Hall and Noah. I'm not one for big speeches, but I'll tell you this. We will win this war. The Sky Hall believes Noah can defeat me, and he's their only hope. So when Noah falls, the Sky Hall will crumble like a house of cards. Michael's voice echoed through the crypt. Gaia stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. As she looked at each of her comrades, her eyes filled with unwavering determination. My fellow warriors, we stand on the eve of an epic battle against the Sky Hall and Noah. I know the odds may seem stacked against us, but remember who we are. We are the forces of darkness, united under the leadership of the Dark Lord. We have faced countless challenges, overcome insurmountable odds, and emerged victorious time and time again. Today will be no different. Gaia's voice rang out with strength and conviction. She continued, do not be swayed by their numbers or their deceitful tactics. We possess something they will never understand, true unity, loyalty, and a bond forged through blood, sweat, and sacrifice. We have faced adversity together, and together we will triumph. Gaia's words resonated deeply within the hearts of Michael's subordinates, reigniting the fire that burned within them. Their spirits were lifted, and a newfound determination sparked in their eyes. Michael, too, felt the impact of Gaia's powerful speech. It stirred a renewed sense of purpose within him, reminding him of his true potential and the plans he had carefully devised to outsmart the Sky Hall. Unbeknownst to their enemies, Michael had devised secret strategies that would catch the Sky Hall off guard. They had expected a straightforward battle, but Michael had something else in mind. He knew that their overconfidence would be their downfall. As the morale-boosting speech concluded, the atmosphere within the crypt crackled with a newfound determination. Michael's subordinates stood tall, ready to face their enemies head-on. They were united, prepared to unleash their full power and fulfill their duty to protect their leader, their Dark Lord. I think you should take a look at, prepare our forces and await my signal. When you receive it, use the teleportation portal located here and gather at River Town, Michael instructed his subordinates. As he spoke, he led Eve and Gaia outside, emerging through the top of the crypt. Once outside, they ascended to a mountaintop on the undead island, granting them a vantage point overlooking the entire island and the vast expanse of the ocean that surrounded it. The moon's gentle glow cast shimmering reflections upon the ocean's surface, while a gentle breeze brushed against Michael atop the mountaintop. So, it's finally happening, Eve remarked, standing alongside Michael and Gaia. Eve, it is of utmost importance that we protect Dalar at all costs. Your duty is to ensure his safety and escort him out if the situation becomes dire, Michael stated with a seriousness that caught Eve and Gaia off guard. We are going to win this. Nothing will go south, Gaia affirmed with determination. I know, but we still need to have backups. Since our army consists mostly of vampires and undeads, Noah won't hesitate to take their lives. Plus, he has Norvin. I will take care of Norvin and Noah, Michael declared. Eve sighed, expressing her wish for Empress Nithrol to join their forces. No, it is crucial that she remains unaligned with me, Michael shook his head. I put Vidora in charge of planning a rescue operation for our captured subordinates. It will be a difficult mission, but it's up to them now, Michael stated, his gaze shifting to Eve. Ensure that your sister Jasmine stays far away from the battlefield. She is in love with Noah, and you cannot risk her getting close to him in the battlefield, Michael cautioned Eve. Unbeknownst to Michael and Eve, Jasmine Voldegard was actually a clone engineered by the Sky Hall elders, along with Yasmin Winston. They were part of the Sky Hall's elaborate plan to manipulate Noah, the god of light. It would be best to eliminate Noah as soon as possible. The Sky Hall's entire army relies on him. Once Noah falls, the rest will crumble, Gaia suggested. However, they both understood that killing Noah would not be an easy task. Michael possessed 2 god-killing arrows, while Noah had managed to acquire 5 with the assistance of Lord Information. Both brothers needed to possess all 7 arrows and use them to eliminate the other. Michael had taken all necessary precautions, tying up any loose ends and making thorough preparations for the battle against his twin brother, Noah. "What about Evan?" Eve inquired, concerned about the threat Evan posed since becoming a god and aligning with Selisi. "Selisi won't send Evan into battle prematurely. He will only intervene if Noah appears to be losing," Michael replied, before Gaia interjected. "But he will lose, right?" Gaia questioned with a furrowed brow. "Yes," Michael quickly affirmed before continuing. "However, Evan won't pose a significant threat, as he is aware that I can eliminate Victoria with a snap. What we need to be wary of are Sales's other hidden cards. I suspect she is amassing a soul army, an entity about which we know very little, if it indeed exists," Michael explained, his voice laced with caution. "I don't like this. There are too many unknown variables at play," Gaia expressed with a sigh, her unease evident in her voice. "They can have all the intricate plans and trump cards they want, Gaia. But I have a simple plan: kill Noah," Michael responded with a sinister smirk, his eyes gleaming with a chilling determination. With his words hanging in the air, Michael spread his majestic wings, their metallic sheen catching the moonlight. With a swift motion, he scooped up Eve and took to the skies, soaring above the world below. The wind rushed past them as they ascended higher, aiming for their destination, the river town where Noah was waiting for him. Chapter 10:30. Noah and Michael meets. As Michael soared beyond the void line, he activated the runic teleportation, transporting himself and Eve to the outskirts of the river town. The town lay under the vast expanse of the night sky, illuminated by the gentle glow of the moon and the stars that adorned the sky. The enchanting river flowed alongside the town, its crystal-clear waters reflecting the shimmering moonlight as it traced a winding path through the heart of the landscape. The tranquil murmur of the river echoed softly, adding a serene melody to the ambience. In the near distance, majestic mountain chains rose proudly, their lush peaks reaching toward the heavens. Among these natural wonders, the remnants of the Sunrise sects' abandoned buildings stood as silent witnesses to what Sky Hall did to all the sections. The river town itself was encased in a glistening pale blue dome, shielding it from the outside world. The ethereal barrier enveloped the entire town, casting an otherworldly glow upon the streets and buildings within. It stood as a testament to the powerful enchantments woven by the Sky Hall, trying to control the damage that would fall upon the outside world when two gods fight. As Michael appeared out of the protective dome, his gaze was drawn to the expansive hillside that stretched beyond the town buildings, once used by the river town people for farming. It was upon these fertile lands that Noah and the formidable Sky Hall army now stood, patiently awaiting Michael's arrival. The sight of Michael's presence in the sky immediately caught the attention of the opposing forces. Noah's eyes locked onto his twin brother, the Dark Lord, as he hovered above, accompanied by his wife Gaia and their loyal ally, Yvoldegard. A tense silence settled over the battlefield, the air pregnant with anticipation. Standing strong behind Noah, an army of 8,000 soldiers stood at attention, their resolve evident in their unwavering stance. Among them, Norvin, transformed into his true form, a towering gorilla with lustrous golden fur, commanded their attention with his booming voice. "Activate the lights." Norvin's command reverberated through the air, resounding across the expanse of Rivertown like a resolute thunderclap. As Norvin's commanding voice echoed, the darkness within the energy dome was swiftly extinguished by the radiant glow of strategically placed orbs. These luminous spheres, carefully positioned throughout the town, emitted a brilliant light that served to weaken Michael, the god of darkness, while bolstering Noah, the god of light. Standing resolutely beside Noah was Maisie, a determined young girl who had once sought to claim Nightmare when he was but a mere baby. Her fists clenched in anger, she stood as a staunch ally of Noah. Among Noah's formidable army stood the Bellaforts, a Lysias family, united in their quest for vengeance to avenge their fallen heirs, Alicia and Peter. Their determined gazes were fixed upon Michael, the Dark Lord, as they prepared to face him head-on. Accompanying them were the proud Sky Hall Angels, adorned in shimmering silver and sky-blue armor, their feathery wings gracefully adorning their backs. Adding strength to Noah's forces were the beastmen, an assortment of humanoid beings with the characteristics of tigers, lions, wolves, and eagles. These majestic creatures exuded a fearless presence, standing tall without a trace of trepidation. However, their eyes scanned the battlefield in search of the Dark Lord's army, only to find that Michael had arrived in Rivertown with only his wife, the Dark Queen Gaia, and his loyal friend Eve Voldegard. Among the various races inhabiting this world, only the dwarves and the beastmen had chosen to ally themselves with Noah in his battle against Michael. The dwarves, known for their resilience and craftsmanship, stood side by side with Noah's forces, lending their strength and expertise. Meanwhile, the beastmen, remarkable beings possessing both human and animal traits, also joined Noah's cause, their fierce and untamed nature adding a formidable edge to the alliance. On the other hand, the elves, under the wise command of Nithroel, had opted to remain neutral, abstaining from taking sides in the conflict between Noah and Michael. Surprisingly, the majority of the orcs, often perceived as ferocious and warlike due to their intimidating appearance, were actually a peaceful race. They found solace in scholarly pursuits, their intellectual pursuits far outweighing any inclination towards combat. It was their love for knowledge and tranquility that kept them away from the war against the Dark Lord, as they preferred a life of peaceful contemplation over engaging in violent conflicts. As the battle drew near, Noah's army swiftly organized themselves into formations, each group positioning themselves strategically across the river town. From a bird's-eye view, the scene resembled an intricate mosaic of soldiers, with the different races and factions standing in distinct patterns. The Skyhall Angels, resplendent in their silver and sky-blue armor, formed a tight-knit formation near Noah, their wings spread wide, ready to take flight at a moment's notice. The Beastmen, with their bestial features, assumed a ferocious formation, their ranks resembling a pack of predatory creatures preparing to strike. The dwarves, renowned for their craftsmanship and resilience, assembled in a compact yet sturdy formation, their stout figures forming a resilient bulwark in the midst of the army. Amidst the organized chaos, murmurs and whispers filled the air among Noah's forces. Some wondered aloud where the Dark Lord's army was, expressing eagerness to put an end to his reign once and for all. Their anticipation was palpable as they eagerly awaited the clash that would decide the fate of their world. "I hope the Dark Lord's army shows up soon. I've been waiting to take him down for ages," one soldier exclaimed with a determined glint in his eyes. "Patience, my friend. The Dark Lord will soon face the wrath of our united forces," another soldier reassured, his voice filled with confidence. Meanwhile, the dwarves, known for their practicality and occasional humor, chimed in with their own distinctive remarks. "Hey lads, make sure you lot protect us and our magnificent weapons. We're the heart of this battle after all." A dwarf bellowed with a hearty laugh, earning chuckles and nods from his fellow dwarves. "Oi lads, remember, we've got the finest weapons in all the realms," exclaimed one dwarf with a thick accent. "Aye, that's true. They should be protecting us, not the other way around." Another dwarf chimed in, his voice filled with jest. Laughter erupted among the dwarves, their camaraderie shining through even in the face of battle. With their distinctive beards and sturdy frames, they exuded a sense of indomitable spirit. "Don't worry. We'll shield you with our lives and make sure those weapons of yours shine brighter than the sun," another soldier responded, playfully flexing his muscles. "I haven't seen so many people wanting to die at once," remarked the Dark Queen Gaia, her voice resonating across the battlefield, laced with a hint of scorn. "I think you should take a look at, don't be too quick to judge us." "Well, see who do the dying," retorted one of the angels defiantly, their wings fluttering with a mix of confidence and determination. "Hey, Ghost, you shouldn't have tamed that dragon. Look what happened, now it's dead," taunted Maisie, a mischievous glint in her eyes as she attempted to provoke Michael. "Shouldn't you be at school or something, little girl?" Eve questioned with a seriousness that contrasted with Maisie's playful demeanor. Her remark elicited chuckles from some of the dwarves, who found the situation amusing. "Don't you lot laugh. She's poking fun at one of our own." growled a fellow soldier, his voice filled with a touch of irritation. But it's still rather amusing, the dwarves chuckled, finding humor in the banter exchanged between Eve and Maisie. Contrary to previous conflicts involving the Dark Lord, the Sky Hall had prohibited news reporters and any other individuals from entering Kingdom Bradford to witness the battle between Michael and Noah. As a result, the sky above the river town remained devoid of any onlookers. Amidst the tension-filled atmosphere, Michael finally broke the silence, his voice laced with amusement. I must say, I had higher expectations of the dwarves' intelligence. Yet here you are, foolishly attempting to fight against me. Doesn't seem too intelligent, does it? With a chilling tone, Michael directed his question at the dwarves, his words dripping with a menacing threat. Have you ever stopped to consider what I can and will do to your entire race once I emerge victorious in this war? As the weight of Michael's words settled upon them, the dwarves couldn't help but notice a gradual transformation in the night sky. The once twinkling stars and radiant moon now became shrouded in a veil of dark and foreboding clouds. The celestial beauty was marred by an eerie darkness that sent shivers down their spines. The dwarves felt an unease settling within them after hearing the Dark Lord's question. Their voices rose in response, shouting defiantly, "We fight for revenge against the damn elves. The Sky Hall promised us that." To their surprise, Michael's response was filled with laughter, his amusement reverberating across the battlefield. "You stupid fools," he taunted, his tone dripping with contempt. "Didn't you know that Empress Nithroel has ascended to become a goddess? The Sky Hall holds no power over her. If anything, she will unleash her wrath upon the race that harbors such deep hatred against her own people. The Sky Hall has deceived you all," said Michael before pausing. "The dwarven race will face further decline in power, whether you win or lose this war," Michael declared, his voice filled with an air of superiority. The dwarves, known for their craftsmanship and engineering skills, felt a twinge of unease at his words. They were a hot-blooded people, driven by their passions, but lacked the finesse and political acumen of the elves. The Dark Lord continued, exposing the deceit of the Sky Hall and revealing the true power dynamics at play. Meanwhile, Empress Nithroel and the elves will remain in power. She is a master strategist, capable of outmaneuvering anyone in the realm. When your dwarven race weakens, she can wipe you out whenever she wants. As Michael laid bare their predicament, doubts began to seep into the minds of the dwarves. They started to question their fervent involvement in the war, realizing the manipulations and risks that lay ahead. The allure of revenge against the elves began to waver in the face of the Dark Lord's revelation. "Did you hear what the Dark Lord said? It makes sense," one dwarf whispered to another. "No matter if we win or lose, our race will suffer. Is revenge worth sacrificing our future? I mean, think about it. The Dark Lord makes a valid point," the other dwarf responded, scratching his beard thoughtfully. "If the Empress and the elves stay in power, what's our fate? We'll be left vulnerable." "Yeah, I mean, I'm all for revenge and all, but being wiped out by the Empress doesn't sound too appealing," another dwarf chimed in, scratching his head. "Maybe the Sky Hall did lie to us," another dwarf pondered. "We shouldn't have blindly followed their promises without questioning their motives." The questioning dwarves exchanged serious glances, contemplating the weight of their decision. However, their contemplation didn't go unnoticed by their leaders, who quickly intervened. "Enough with the doubt. We made our choice, and we must stand by it," one of the leader dwarves bellowed, attempting to silence the dissenting voices. Upon witnessing the dwarves' wavering resolve, Norvin raised his voice to counter Michael's words. "Don't let him mess with your minds. Stay strong." Norvin's voice boomed across the battlefield, attempting to reignite the dwarves' determination. Meanwhile, Noah locked his gaze with Michael, his twin brother. A mix of conflicting emotions surged within him. On one hand, he had recently discovered that the Dark Lord was none other than his own flesh and blood. On the other hand, the Dark Lord, his twin brother, had taken the life of his beloved wife, Alicia. Noah's expression remained stoic as he grappled with the weight of these emotions. The battlefield stood as a backdrop to their personal vendetta, an intricate clash of kinship and vengeance. Chapter 1031. Michael versus Noah? Battle begins. We should attack him. Norvin turned to Noah, suggesting that they should launch an attack on the Dark Lord. However, Noah shook his head, opting to wait for the Dark Lord's army to reveal itself. As anticipated, Noah sensed a disturbance in the space around him. Moments later, black vortexes materialized in the air and on the ground outside the energy dome. From these teleportation vortexes, hordes of undead creatures emerged, their haunting moans filling the air. The sight of the undead sent a shiver down the spines of the dwarves and the beastmen in the army, evoking both disgust and fear. Norvin and Noah were taken aback by the sight of flying undead. While they were accustomed to using flying swords as a means of aerial mobility, witnessing the undead take to the skies was a chilling revelation. These flying undead were another successful creation of Dalar, the mastermind behind Michael's undead army. The previous war in Nagaland had seen Michael employ bloaters, a different type of undead that exploded amidst enemy ranks, causing widespread destruction. In the face of the emerging undead army, the dwarves and the beastmen exchanged anxious glances. They engaged in a conversation, their voices laced with both concern and disbelief. What in the name of the mountain is that? Flying undead? This can't be happening. One dwarf exclaimed, his voice trembling with fear. They're defying the natural laws. How can undead creatures fly? Another dwarf muttered, his voice laced with disbelief. Meanwhile, the beastmen growled with a mixture of aggression and fear. Those creatures. They are an abomination. We've never seen anything like this before, a beastman snarled, his claws digging into the ground. I've seen my fair share of battles, but this is something else. How are we supposed to fight against flying undead? Noah, what kind of undead are these? Norvin turned to Noah, seeking answers, but Noah remained silent, his eyes fixed on the approaching horde. These undeads. They're an unexpected threat. We need to be prepared. Noah finally spoke, his voice filled with determination. As the undead army continued to pour out of the vortexes, a putrid stench filled the air, carrying the unmistakable odor of decaying flesh and death. The atmosphere became heavy with the foul scent, causing some of the soldiers to gag and cover their noses. The shuffling footsteps of the undead resonated throughout the battlefield, accompanied by the eerie moans and groans that escaped their rotting mouths. It was a haunting chorus that echoed in the hearts of those who stood witness to the macabre sight. The sounds of bones cracking and joints creaking reverberated through the air as the undead moved with an unnatural agility. Some emitted ghastly wails, while others emitted guttural growls, creating a dissonant symphony of terror that sent chills down the spines of all who heard it. Do not be too shocked now. We have more surprises in store for you, Gaia taunted the opposing army with a smirk. With a resounding clap of her hands, the sound echoed through the river town like thunder, capturing everyone's attention. As if summoned by her command, additional vortexes materialized in the air and on the ground. From these swirling portals emerged vampires, draped in sleek black armor and robes. The airborne vampires gracefully hovered behind Michael, forming the silhouette of enormous, ominous wings. Meanwhile, the dark clouds above Michael grew thicker and more menacing, giving rise to an intense lightning storm. The gathering storm reflected his power as the god of darkness, a stark contrast to the radiant light emanating from the energy dome. As the lightning bolts crackled across the sky, Eve flicked her wrist, conjuring her warhammer. The weapon pulsed with electric energy, drawing power from the storm above. It crackled with raw power, a manifestation of the unleashed forces of nature. In a captivating display, ethereal form of a black king cobra materialized behind Gaia, revealing her true nature as a naga. As lightning streaks illuminated the sky, the cobra's looming shadow cast a terrifying presence. However, what truly astonished and unnerved the opposing army was the formation of the clouds. They gathered together, coalescing into a colossal skull, serving as the ominous symbol of the Dark Lord. The combined display of power and elemental forces left the enemy forces awestruck, their confidence waning in the face of such formidable might. The dwarves, beastmen, and sky-hall angels observed the spectacle before them, their expressions filled with a mix of awe, fear, and curiosity. They couldn't help but comment on the Dark Army's impressive display. "By the hammers of our ancestors, have you ever seen anything like this?" one of the dwarves whispered to his companion, his eyes wide with amazement. "Nay, never in all my years," replied the other dwarf, his voice tinged with both excitement and trepidation. "These undead and vampires, they're a force to be reckoned with." The beastmen, renowned for their primal instincts, exchanged puzzled glances and murmured amongst themselves. "Those flying undead. I've never witnessed anything so eerie," remarked a beastman with a lion-like face. "They move like shadows in the night. I think you should take a look at Mong the Sky Hall Angels." Whispers of disbelief and concern spread. "Such darkness and lightning. It's almost unnatural," remarked one angel, his voice barely audible above the storm. Inside Michael's mind, the constant notifications of his badass points became overwhelming. He quickly muted the sounds, realizing the need to focus solely on the battle at hand. Both Noah and Norvin were taken aback by the staggering number of vampires and undead standing before them. Despite their numerical superiority, they recognized that the combined power of the vampires and undead posed a formidable challenge to their own forces. They were well aware that the Dark Lord had more tricks up his sleeve, yet he chose to keep them hidden for the time being. "What are we waiting for?" Impatiently, Noah's voice echoed through the battlefield, demanding action. His eyes ignited with radiant flames of light, and beams of light shot forth from his gaze. 2 swords materialized in his hands, engulfed in the majestic coils of the light flames. Adorned in specially crafted armor forged by the skilled dwarves, Noah truly looked the part of the god of light. As he ascended into the sky, angelic wings made of pure light sprouted from his back, radiating a divine aura. Michael, not one to be outdone, also underwent a transformation of his own. Dark flames erupted from his eyes, and his metallic wings, which were part of his dark armor, became enveloped in swirling dark flames. In each of his hands, dark swords materialized, their blades enshrouded in the coiling embrace of black flames. The air crackled with the intensity of their powers, a stark contrast of light and darkness preparing to clash. "Let us settle this once and for all," declared Michael, his voice resolute and filled with determination. "Attack!" Norvin's roar resounded through the battlefield, igniting a surge of energy as the 2 armies charged at each other, leaving chaos in their wake. Michael and Noah, locked in their intense aerial duel, swung their swords simultaneously, their weapons clashing in midair. The clash of dark and light unleashed a colossal shockwave that reverberated through the very ground, causing the sky to crack as the 2 gods clashed. "So, light flames. Who handed them over to you, Noah?" Michael questioned, their swords grinding against each other in a fierce deadlock. "When you do good, people lend their support. It's something you fail to understand, Ghost," Noah retorted. Within the thin layer of the energy dome, Noah remained suspended midair, bathed in luminous radiance, while Michael hovered on the opposite side where darkness held sway. "It's easy to talk when everything is handed to you on a silver platter," Michael snickered, abruptly headbutting Noah and sending him hurtling backward. Noah adjusted his neck with a crack and swiftly dashed towards Michael, his movements infused with lightning speed. As he closed in on his adversary, Noah unleashed a beam of light from his swords. Reacting instinctively, Michael raised his arm, summoning a retractable black shield from his wrist. The shield absorbed the searing light beams, its color shifting to a fiery orange due to the intense heat. Michael's hand tingled from the impact, but undeterred, Noah propelled himself forward with lightning speed, aiming a powerful kick at Michael. In response, Michael reciprocated the attack, their legs colliding in midair. With a resounding clash, they struck each other's heads with their legs, their fierce cries filling the air as their determination and power collided in an epic showdown. Spitting the blood in his mouth, Michael surged forward, propelling himself through the air with unstoppable determination. Once again, he and Noah clashed in a breathtaking aerial confrontation, their swords locked in a furious battle of light and darkness. Noah's pair of swords, engulfed in radiant light flames, danced through the air with grace and precision. He unleashed a series of swift, calculated strikes, weaving his blades with remarkable agility and finesse. Each swing of his swords emitted dazzling arcs of light, illuminating the battlefield as he sought to exploit any opening in Michael's defenses. In response, Michael wielded his two dark swords, wreathed in swirling dark flames that exuded an aura of malevolence. With calculated brutality, he matched Noah's every move with unwavering focus and unwieldy strength. His strikes carried an undeniable weight, channeling the darkness within him into each devastating blow. Their clash created a spectacle of opposing forces, a symphony of light and dark intertwining in a dance of raw power. Michael's dark blades clashed against Noah's radiant swords, sparks flying as their immense strength met with equal intensity. The clash of their swords reverberated through the air, echoing their unyielding determination to emerge victorious. Noah's swift and agile footwork allowed him to evade Michael's relentless assault, his nimble movements showcasing his mastery of the light. He skillfully parried and countered Michael's strikes, utilizing his speed and precision to exploit any opening he could find. With each counterattack, he unleashed bursts of searing light, forcing Michael to adjust his defensive stance continuously. In turn, Michael utilized his inherent darkness to launch powerful and unpredictable attacks. He combined brute force with deceptive speed, delivering bone-crushing blows that tested Noah's resilience. The dark flames that enveloped Michael's swords enhanced their destructive potential, leaving trails of shadowy residue in their wake. Noah's voice trembled with anger as he shouted at Michael, his words filled with anguish and resentment. "I wish our mother had never given birth to you. Because of you, I lost everything." The pain in his voice was palpable as he confronted the Dark Lord. Michael's response cut through the air like a sharp blade, his words carrying the weight of his own painful past. "And how does it feel to have nothing? You had everything while I had nothing." His voice thundered, resonating with a mix of anger and sorrow. In a moment of strategic agility, Michael swiftly discarded his dark sword and delivered a powerful punch straight to Noah's jaw. Caught off guard, Noah was unable to defend himself, and the force of the blow sent him hurtling towards the ground, causing a cascade of destruction as he crashed into several buildings. The impact reverberated through the air, leaving a trail of shattered debris in its wake. The sheer force of Michael's punch showcased his formidable strength, catching Noah off balance and exposing his vulnerability. The clash between the two gods took an unexpected turn as Michael seized the opportunity to unleash a devastating blow, momentarily gaining the upper hand in their fierce confrontation. Chapter 1032, Michael vs. Noah. The battle continues as Noah crashed through the debris. The nearby undead army hurriedly rushed toward the fallen god. Meanwhile, Michael, unfazed by the chaos, flapped his metallic wings and soared toward Noah's location. However, just as he approached, a colossal fist materialized out of nowhere and struck Michael squarely in the face. It was none other than Norvin, propelling himself from the ground to deliver the unexpected blow in midair. Yet, Norvin had underestimated the immense power gap between him and Michael. While Norvin stood at the half-immortal stage of cultivation, Michael possessed the cultivation of a half-celestial, a vast difference in strength. Norvin's punch, despite generating a powerful shockwave that demolished nearby buildings, failed even to rattle Michael. The Dark Lord stood resolute in the sky, his unwavering presence emanating a terrifying aura. In a silent exchange, Michael met Norvin's gaze, their eyes locked in a moment of intense confrontation. With a mere glance, Michael unleashed two dark beams from his eyes, striking Norvin's shoulder with precision. Arg! Simultaneously, Gaia's mighty roar reverberated through the battlefield, signaling her entrance into the fray. Descending from above, Gaia underwent a transformation, assuming her true form as a 10-foot king cobra with sleek black scales. With lightning speed, her serpentine body coiled around Norvin, ensnaring him within her powerful grasp. In one swift motion, Gaia swung Norvin towards a nearby building, crashing him into its sturdy structure. The impact echoed through the surroundings, further escalating the chaos of the battle. On the opposing side, Eve Voldegard took charge at the forefront of the Dark Army. With a mighty leap, she soared into the air, her war hammer held high as crackling lightning bolts danced around her. Her attire, consisting of black armor and a billowing cape, fluttered in the wind, adding to her commanding presence. Bringing her hammer down forcefully, Eve struck the ground, unleashing a powerful shockwave that rippled through Noah's army. As the clash intensified, several Sky Hall angels, adorned in their feathery wings and silver armor, closed in on Eve from various directions. Despite being surrounded by thousands of beastmen and soldiers from Noah's army, Eve displayed no trace of fear in her resolute gaze. With unwavering determination, she raised her hammer skyward, preparing for the impending confrontation. Suddenly, a violent vortex of pure lightning energy descended from above, engulfing Eve in its powerful embrace. Her eyes and body radiated with a crimson-red glow, fueled by the immense power coursing through her. Locked in her crimson gaze were 3 Sky Hall angels hurtling towards her. The first angel, equipped with formidable armor, relied on its protective armor to face Eve, who surpassed him in cultivation. However, Eve's spell-casting abilities and sheer power proved overwhelming for the angel's armor. As the angel drew closer, Eve swiftly sidestepped, tossing her warhammer into the air while gripping the angel's feathery wings. In a brutal display, Eve tore away the feathery armor from the angel's body, eliciting agonized roars of pain. Without granting the soldier a moment's respite, she delivered a forceful punch to his face, sending him crashing to the ground. Seizing the opportune moment, Eve allowed her warhammer to descend upon the angel's head, pulverizing it into a gruesome mass of blood and bone. As Noah crashed into the building, a blinding explosion of light erupted from the impact point. The radiant burst propelled the surrounding undead into the air, reducing some of them to mere piles of ash. Emerging from the wreckage, Noah rose with determination, his gaze fixed on Michael. Seizing a large boulder nearby, he hurled it towards the Dark Lord who loomed in the sky. Michael swiftly reacted, unleashing dark beams from his eyes that sliced through the boulder, splitting it in two. However, Noah skillfully maneuvered himself through the resulting gap, catching his opponent off guard. With swift precision, Noah landed a powerful punch to Michael's face followed by a forceful kick to his gut. In retaliation, Michael seized Noah by the neck, his grip firm and unyielding. Descending with great speed, he plowed through the ground, causing debris and asphalt to shatter beneath their combined weight. Finally, reaching the end of the pathway, Michael forcefully hurled Noah into a distant building, the impact resonating with destructive force. It was at this moment that Michael realized he found himself amidst Noah's army, surrounded by his enemies. Despite being in the heart of the opposing forces, the Sky Hall angels and beastmen halted their advance, refraining from drawing any closer to Michael. Fear was evident in their eyes, for they understood that Noah alone possessed the strength and chance to confront the Dark Lord. At that moment, Eve landed gracefully right behind Michael, standing shoulder to shoulder with her friend. A brief exchange of glances passed between them, a silent understanding of their shared purpose. "Destroy those light orbs," Michael commanded Eve, his voice carrying the weight of urgency. The intense bright lights emanating from the orbs needed to be extinguished. Although the light didn't pose a significant threat to Michael, he knew that eliminating it would ensure he stood at his absolute strongest. "Stop her!" The Sky Hall angels, witnessing Eve's actions, desperately cried out, commanding their forces to stop her. In a swift and calculated motion, Eve propelled herself towards the sky, her war hammer firmly grasped in her hand. The Sky Hall angels, attempting to impede her progress, found themselves swiftly dealt with by Michael's dark beams. The sight was gruesome and unsettling, as bodies were torn asunder, drenching the battlefield in pools of blood and filling the air with its pungent scent. Amidst the chaos, the battlefield erupted into a whirlwind of violence and bloodshed. The undead clashed mercilessly with Noah's army, tearing through the ranks of beastmen and soldiers alike. In retaliation, Noah's forces unleashed powerful spells upon the relentless undead horde. The clash of spells and the clash of steel created a cacophony of chaotic warfare, with neither side showing any sign of relenting. In a desperate attempt to turn the tide of battle, hundreds of Noah's soldiers raised their hands simultaneously, channeling their collective energy into a powerful spell. The air crackled with electricity as their combined magic swirled and intertwined, forming a swirling vortex of energy above them. I think you should take a look at the spell began to take shape, manifesting as a colossal beam of pure elemental force. It surged downward from the vortex, tearing through the battlefield with unstoppable force. The beam glowed with intense light, tinged with shades of blue and white, as it sliced through the ranks of the undead army. Wherever it touched, the undead disintegrated into dust, vanishing from existence. The ground beneath them trembled as the spell carved a path of destruction, obliterating everything in its wake. The soldiers watched in awe as their spell wrought havoc upon the undead forces. The sheer magnitude of their collective power filled them with hope, their shouts of triumph echoing through the chaos. But their celebration was abruptly cut short as the Dark Lord's army retaliated with a sinister countermove. From the depths of the undead ranks emerged a grotesque sight, bloated figures, their bodies swollen with foul gases. These abominations, known as bloaters, emitted a pungent stench that permeated the air, causing many of Noah's soldiers to gag and cover their noses. "No, not the bloaters!" One soldier cried out, his voice laced with fear. But before he could finish his warning, the bloaters reached the spellcasters, their grotesque bodies pulsating with lethal intent. With a sickening explosion, the bloaters detonated, unleashing a wave of destruction that engulfed the spellcasters. The force of the explosion tore through the ranks of Noah's soldiers, leaving devastation and carnage in its wake. Noah rose from the rubble of the shattered building, his eyes burning with determination. He raised his hands towards Michael, his palms radiating with intense light. Concentrated beams of pure luminosity shot forth from his outstretched hands, blazing through the air with blinding speed. The beams of light sliced through anything in their path, disintegrating the undead soldiers unfortunate enough to be caught in their trajectory. Buildings crumbled into dust, and the ground beneath them cracked and shattered, unable to withstand the sheer force of Noah's unleashed power. The light beams illuminated the battlefield, casting an ethereal glow upon the chaos below. Not to be outdone, Michael responded by raising his own hand, his palm emanating a swirling darkness. Dark beams erupted from his fingertips, coiling like serpents as they raced towards Noah. The clash between the light beams and the dark beams created an explosive collision, unleashing a cataclysmic shockwave that reverberated through the air. The resulting explosion engulfed the surrounding area, decimating everything within its vicinity. The force of the impact sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield, shaking the ground and tossing debris into the air like confetti. The intense light and dark energies collided, creating a maelstrom of destruction that tore through the undead army and Noah's soldiers alike. The destructive power of the collision was awe-inspiring. Buildings crumbled, reduced to rubble in an instant. Trees were uprooted, their branches splintered and scattered across the battlefield. The shockwave blasted away soldiers, both undead and living, like rag dolls, flinging them through the air with merciless force. The explosion left behind a scene of desolation and ruin. Smoke and dust filled the air, obscuring the battlefield in a haze. The sound of crumbling structures and anguished cries echoed amidst the devastation. The once bustling landscape now lay in ruins, a testament to the unrelenting power of the clash between light and darkness. As they soared through the sky, Noah and Michael collided, engaging in a fierce battle without the aid of their swords. Their clenched fists clashed with thunderous impacts, each strike resonating through the air. "Tell me, Noah, how did you manage to reach the half-celestial stage?" "Let me guess, someone lent you a helping hand as always." Michael sneered at Noah, taunting him about his progress to the half-celestial stage. He mocked Noah, suggesting that someone had assisted him, as if Noah's accomplishments were not his own. "This would have been a one-sided massacre if it weren't for the constant plot armor you seem to acquire," Michael jeered, attempting to undermine Noah's abilities. Their bodies twisted and turned in the air as they exchanged blows, their movements fluid and precise. Noah's determination fueled his every strike, while Michael's dark aura enveloped him, lending an air of menacing power to his attacks. With each clash, The sound of fists meeting flesh echoed through the sky, their intense rivalry escalating to new heights. The air crackled with their energy, their movements leaving trails of energy in their wake. Despite their physical combat, their conflict ran deeper than mere punches and taunts. It was a battle of brothers, of contrasting powers and ideologies. Each blow carried the weight of their shared history and personal vendettas.